DebateCon 7 will be in Houston, Texas on Saturday, January 31st, 2026, and featuring some of your favorite debaters that you can come out and meet and see debating live, including David Wood, Daniel Hakikachu, Inspiring Philosophy, Mike Jones, and more. Check out the tickets right now in the description box. You don't want to miss it. We're expecting it to sell out. Grab your tickets now. Hey everybody, tonight we're debating whether or not Alex Pretti was murdered, and we are starting right now with Steven's opening statement. Thanks for being with us. Steven, the floor is all yours.
Wait, I'm getting my Zoom set up. Oh man. Do you have to make the windows change or do I make the windows change?
You mean?
I have no idea. No, we're good. Don't worry about it. I figured it out. Okay. I didn't know we had formal opening statements for this, so I'll run through my thoughts. I think on the broadest, most macro perspective right now, if we look at the actions of ICE in Minnesota, I think that they're faulty on a couple of big levels. I think, firstly, the recent wave was inspired by a video by Nick Shirley, where the majority of the claims made in that video are demonstrably and obviously false. Whether we talk about the fact that he went to these daycare centers when they were closed and claimed that nobody was answering, or that he went to daycare centers and didn't bother to look up anything about them beforehand to see if they were even currently functioning or not, or whether he went to office suites and he seemed to be unaware that sometimes you can have a whole bunch of offices in the same building and there's nothing very strange or weird about that, and the fact that you can't go to a home health care provider, their office, and demand to see somebody who will give you home health care, because that's not usually how any of these places work. So I think it's a tragedy that the surge of ICE agents recently to Minnesota was seemingly inspired by that Nick Shirley video. Even broader than that, I think it's sad that Donald Trump has taken an issue like legal immigration that to some extent all of us should have some broad agreement on. So for instance, all of us should agree that we don't want violent illegal immigrants in our country that are felons or have committed violent crimes, and has somehow turned it into literally the most polarizing issue ever through constant gags and just deeply unserious approaches to the problem, like the creation of Alligator Alcatraz, like shipping people off to El Salvador, like Kristi Noem taking videos in front of people in cages. I just think it's crazy, it's cruel, it makes everybody upset, and it just divides the country in terms of how we view these issues. I think more specifically, I think it's a tragedy that we've decided that it's okay for ICE agents to become masked up, that it's okay for them to engage in bullying tactics on the civilian population. It seems that a lot of these people are out of control. It seems that they lack the proper training to do ordinary state or local policing operations. And so as a substitution for knowing how to actually do their job, they've just engaged in bullying and brutality. And we've seen that in the case of Renee Good, who was assassinated for literally no reason by a guy who I think said fucking bitch after he killed her, or now the assassination of a guy that was working as a VA nurse who was just trying to pick a woman up off the street that an officer had shoved aside for literally no reason. So with that context set, with the background set, when you look at this specific killing, I think that there are so many ways that this was a horrible event. And I think that this is one of those events that, like, if you can't see how this is horrible, I think you truly will defend basically anything you see on camera as long as Donald Trump signs off on it. I don't know why the officer was just shoving the woman around. If you want to argue that the woman should have been detained and arrested, then there's a time for that. I don't know why police would ever just shove somebody to the ground if you weren't trying to arrest them. That doesn't seem to be the case of what was happening here. It seems like when Pretti was trying to put himself between the officer and the woman, it doesn't seem like he was trying to put his hands on or attack the officer at all at multiple points of the video. It seems like his hand is up. He's slipping over, just trying to like help the woman up. I don't see at any point where it looks like he's attacking or trying to be aggressive towards the officer. And then for absolutely no reason, the officer decides to escalate at every stage of this interaction, starts shoving him around, takes out his mace, starts macing him down, starts tackling him, gets his boys over to tackle him, and then a situation in about 5 seconds just turns into a murder for literally no reason whatsoever. I think that there are multiple stops on this train ride that you can get off where you say, well, you know, the cop had the right to detain the woman. The cop maybe even had the right to push the woman. The cop maybe even had the right to push or detain Alex. But at no point should we ever ride this train all the way to this was an understandable but unavoidable situation that escalated into somebody dying. There were just so many better ways that the federal agent could have handled the situation if he either had the proper training or better attitude towards it. There's just absolutely no reason why this guy should have died in this way. And to watch conservatives abandon all their principles related to law enforcement, related to the Second Amendment, related to the First Amendment, in a desperate attempt to justify anything they see happen that unfolds on screen related to an ICE officer is just, well, in this case, a CBP, I think, officer is tragic to me.
You got it. Thank you very much for that opening. We're going to kick it over to Alexxander in just a moment for his opening as well. But first, just a couple of quick housekeeping things. First, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, I'm your host, Dr. James. We are a fully neutral platform hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. And our official conference is this Saturday in Houston, Texas, January 31st. That's linked in the description box. DebateCon 7 this Saturday. We're going to kick it over to Alex. I also just put up a poll. Let us know what you think on whether or not Alex Pretti was murdered or not by ICE. With that, Alexander, the floor is all yours for your opening as well.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Destiny. So tonight we're talking about what happened in Minneapolis on Saturday the 24th. Some Border Patrol agents were engaged in a federal immigration enforcement operation. And based on video evidence, you can see a man by the name of Alex Pretti and two women blocking agents' vehicles on the road. You can see Alex Pretti specifically kind of directing traffic and figuring out who's Border Patrol and who's not, and sending those who are not on their way while trying to impede on the Border Patrol's vehicles. Then a Border Patrol agent advances towards Pretti and the two women, yelling at them to get on the sidewalk, a lawful disbursement of an active investigation. Eventually, this agent gets to one of the women, and she's not on the sidewalk after he's told her multiple times to go on the sidewalk, and he pushes her. Again, he's lawfully allowed to do this, to disperse when people are not obeying commands. Directly after he pushes her, Alex Pretti puts his arm and body in between the agent and the woman. The agent takes this as an aggressive move that obstructs him from physically moving the woman to the sidewalk, which he has every right to do. The agent then, I don't believe pepper spray, might not be the right word here, it's called OC spray, and tackles Pretti to the ground, where several other agents join in to try and detain him. During the struggle, and that's exactly what it is, it's a struggle, which is by definition resisting, one of the agents sees a gun and yells, "He's got a gun," multiple times. Not sure if it's the same agent, but an agent then moves to disarm Pretti, while another agent draws his weapon and places it directly on Pretti's back. This is after hearing, "He's got a gun, he's got a gun." This agent who takes out the gun, puts it on Pretti's back, moves forward to watch for any sudden movements. Now, I have a video where we can see that Alex Pretti's right arm reached for his waistband in a motion like this, where his elbow comes up behind the Border Patrol agent. We can see that in the video if we ever want to pull it up. And I'm not even saying he intended to pull his weapon, right? We don't know his intention, and I don't think that was his intention. I'm just saying objectively, when you watch the video, you can see his right arm make that motion. The first movement of his arm actually aligns with the sound of the first gunshot. So when his elbow is above his back and his hand is near his waist, we hear the first shot. Now, this is where we have to speculate a little bit. We don't have all of the information yet. There's obviously an ongoing investigation. I'm sure, hopefully the Border Patrol agents were wearing body cams. Hopefully we get to see those publicly. So either A, one of the officers noticed the hand movement and fired his weapon, or B, Pretti's gun misfired in the hand of the officer who removed the gun from Pretti's waistband. When I first saw the video, I threw it to the side. I was like, I don't know, it seems a little weird. People, are going to make all sorts of videos when this stuff happens, but it does seem like it could be credible because of the type of gun the P320 is known to misfire. I'm not sure, so we'll talk about both situations. If B happened, the misfire, then you have three elements that provide an objectively reasonable officer the justification to fire his weapon in self-defense. He hears that Pretti has a gun, right? He then sees Pretti reach his hand back and hears a gunshot, then he fires his weapon. If A happened, you still have two elements. The officer is made aware that Pretti is armed while resisting arrest. He draws his weapon and aims it at Pretti as a precaution. He then sees Pretti reach his hand backwards towards his waist and fires his weapon in self-defense, defending not only himself but his other officers. Remember, the only thing that matters is the Fourth Amendment test for what an objectively reasonable officer would do in the same situation without 20/20 hindsight. So really it comes down to, did Alex Pretti reach his hand backwards toward his waist before being shot? Here's what does not matter. It doesn't matter that Alex Pretti was legally carrying his firearm. It doesn't matter if Alex Pretti was being unlawfully detained. It doesn't matter if Alex Pretti had a firearm on him the exact moment he was shot. And here's why. One, legally carrying a firearm while resisting officers does not change the possibility of the suspect using this weapon on an officer, right? So once an officer is made aware that the suspect he is detaining is armed, he is well within his right to draw his weapon. United States versus Robinson. I believe this is a Supreme Court case. During a lawful stop, if an officer reasonably believes a person is armed, the person is categorically dangerous even if the gun is lawfully possessed. The exact quote here from Robinson is, "The risk inherent in a forced police encounter is created simply because the person who is forcibly stopped is armed. That makes them dangerous. It makes the situation inherently risky." And then also, same case, whether the firearm is legally possessed is irrelevant to the danger it poses to officers during an encounter. This is Robinson. I have the exact quotes. I'm not going to say them all to bore you, but like this one is 846 Federal 3rd, at I think page 700, section 1. I don't know exactly how to read those. A case that proves officers can rely on other officers' information about a suspect is United States versus Sharif. Clear articulation of collective knowledge in weapon context. So the collective knowledge doctrine allows officers to rely on information shared by other officers in determining reasonable suspicion or probable cause. This is Sharif. Again, if a officer gets a call that somebody is driving recklessly, they'll pull them over, they'll ask them sobriety questions, maybe do a field test, whatever. But if that officer gets a same call and says, "Hey, somebody just cut me off and they waved a gun at me," when the officer stops that car, he's pulling his gun. It all depends on the context and the information. We also have United States versus Taylor. Police officers may draw their weapons, this is an exact quote, when reasonably necessary for their protection. The Eighth Circuit confirms the same rule. This is Thompson versus Hubbard. Exact quote, "Officers may take reasonable action, including drawing their weapons, to protect themselves when they have reason to believe a suspect may be armed and dangerous." It was perfectly reasonable for these officers, once they figured out Pretti was armed, to draw their weapons. One more, Corson versus McMillian. "The display of weapons by police officers is not excessive force when the officers reasonably perceive a threat to their safety." 2, it does not matter if Alex Pretti was being unlawfully detained. The provocation doctrine was a Ninth Circuit rule. It said that if officers unlawfully provoked a confrontation, whether it's illegal entry or detention, they could be liable for later use of force, even if that force was otherwise reasonable. But in County of LA versus Mendez, the U.S. Supreme Court unanimously rejected the provocation doctrine, and the court held that Fourth Amendment claims must be analyzed offense by offense. Unreasonable seizures or detentions and excessive force are separate questions. Last one here. The reasonableness of force is judged the moment force is used and not by tracing backwards to prior police errors. Number 3, it does not matter if Alex Pretti had a firearm on him at the exact time that he was shot. This is Terry versus Ohio. This is the key holding here. The officer need not be absolutely certain that the individual is armed. The issue is whether a reasonably prudent man would be warranted in the belief that his safety or that of others was in danger. It's Terry versus Ohio, and that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that opening. We are going to kick it into the open dialogue. As usual, gentlemen, we will let it go in terms of genuine open discussion. If it gets too interruptive, we'll break it into 1-minute responses. And then, folks, we're going to have a Q&A following the open dialogue. And at the bottom right of your screen, you can see that poster for DebateCon 7 this Saturday. You can watch that at home as well. Check out our channel memberships. And with that, we're going to kick it into the open dialogue.
Based on my accounting of the events, I can say it again. Did you disagree with any of it?
Probably, but let's start near kind of the beginning. Or I guess one of the first things that I kind of notice.
Okay.
So at the point, why do we think that the officer shoving the lady is like a justified action?
Because when an officer gives lawful command, so they're investigating in the area, right? As far as we know, that's all we have. When he gives lawful commands to disperse, which he can do, I do have some case law for that as well. When he gives those lawful commands, if they do not follow those commands, they can detain them, or if there's a large crowd, push them away and make sure that they're not impeding on the investigation.
Okay, I agree with that. Why did the officer shove this lady here? There was no large crowd. He wasn't detaining her.
Well, there was a bunch of people around. There was tons of people filming. I think we have like 4 different angles of people filming.
Are we able
You
to
are
play
aware.
videos in the Zoom call?
We can. Last time they were a bit choppy. But you do agree that there's obviously organized people who
Well,
are
hold on. No,
doing
I
these
don't agree
things.
there was a large crowd. In fact, I would say factually there was not a large crowd. I'm not sure if there are more than a few people. At the time when the officer pushes the lady, there are 2 ladies, and then there is Alex Pretti. I don't know who else. Can you tell me who you're referring to as a large crowd around the shooting?
I would say there's probably at least 10 people on site. Large
Okay.
enough to that detaining every single one for simple obstruction would probably not be reasonable.
So when the officer shoves the lady to the ground, I see 4 or 5 officers behind him. I see another lady to the left of him, and then I see Alex Pretti in front. Where are these 7 other people?
Well, we have like 3 or 4 different angles.
Sure.
Obviously, we hear a bunch of different whistles.
That's okay. In terms of like why he felt the need to push her back, I don't see anybody else besides the 3 involved.
Yeah, so maybe he didn't want to detain her at that specific time. He is allowed to use force to get her to comply and move away from the situation.
I don't believe that's true.
Why not?
I don't think an officer can punch you or hit you or shove you if he's not in the process of detaining you. You're about to say, well, he can do something that's not related to what I just said. Yes, they can use force to detain you. Yes, they can use force to arrest you. But simply shoving somebody to move them away?
Yeah. So in USC section 111, USC 18 section 111, there's a case, United States versus Summerstead. Section 111 reaches conduct that is less than assault, including physical interference that impedes officers in the performance of their duties. Once this is violated, the officer can use force on you to get you to comply with legal orders.
No. They can use force to detain you. No. If the officer tells you you need to move and you say no, can the officer punch you?
No. Yeah, they can push you out of the way, though. That's reasonable force. Punching would be unreasonable force.
Why is shoving somebody, pushing somebody to the ground, that's reasonable?
Well, his intention isn't to harm her, whereas the intention with the punch is to harm.
The intention
He shoved her.
If you shove somebody, what is she being, at the point when he shoves her, what is she even shoving her away from?
Well, she's standing not directly in the street, but in the parking area there. He told her to get on the sidewalk. She wasn't obeying the command.
She's not illegally in the street, though. And you think he can shove her at that point?
He's lawfully dispersing a crowd, whether you want to say it's 4 or 5 people. He's dispersing people.
Yeah, but you can't.
Legally.
No, that's not legal.
Yes, it is.
A cop could not walk in front of 5 people who are in an area where the cops have to let you. I don't know, assault maybe, but like you can't just shove people. You can't just shove people to get them to comply. Cops don't do that. That's not what you do as a police officer.
Yes, absolutely. So I mean, this is obviously anecdotal, but when a fight breaks out, right? You're at a festival and a fight breaks out. Cops try to. So once the cops get the hands on the victims, they yell at the crowd to disperse. If the crowd does not disperse, they can't sit there and detain every single one of them. They push everybody out of the way. If you're not moving, they're pushing you.
So one, they don't. You're never going to see a video where one cop runs into a crowd of people like it's a death metal concert.
What do you mean,
trying to push them all away? That you can't.
No, they run.
But then two, even in cases where that might happen, I can understand it happening in a case where somebody's directly interfering with a tense situation where they're trying to actively detain and arrest somebody and they're trying to get somebody off of them. Sure, but that was not the situation at all. It was not even remotely close to the situation. All right. The lady's already walking towards the sidewalk. She turns to talk to the cop, and the cop just shoves her into the snowbank because he's pissed off, right? He just shoved her because he's mad.
No, he shoved her because he's giving her a lawful order, and she's not obeying, and that's his right to. But
he doesn't have a right to shove her because
yes, he does.
Okay, hold on, wait. We gotta play this video. How do I get into the chat here? What do I have to type?
Well, if you want to share it for the audience, you can use screen share. But you don't have to. But it is in the chat right now.
Are you able to screen share or?
Let's see. With OBS running, it might be a little much on my PC. But do you have it open on your side? Because it's actually really easy to screen share if you wanted. Otherwise, let me give it a shot. And if it gets laggy, then we'll do it a different way. And folks, that poll is in the live chat. Let us know what you think. Thanks for your patience. I'm having a lot of boomer issues today.
Also, what was the when you cited USC Title 18 USC 111? What is the purpose of that, or what is this giving us?
So it shows what when an officer can use low-level force on a person who is not complying. So if
Wait,
somebody
where?
forcibly impedes, well, I'm just saying this is so use of force is under Graham versus Connor, right? And it
Hold
just
on,
says
use
that
of
it has
force
to be
things, use of
objectively
force-
reasonable.
Yeah, but use of force continues everything. These are like department policies. I think USC 111 is just talking about how you can't assault, resist, or impede certain officers or employees.
Right,
And
it's a
gives,
crime
like,
if you
fines for this.
violate it.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell you the officer is allowed to punch or push you or hit you
No,
or
right.
whatever.
That's where use of force comes in when you're doing these actions on somebody, right? When you're impeding on a federal investigation, what force can the officer use to get you to comply?
Okay, sure, but I just don't know why we invoked this law. It has nothing to do with that.
Well, I'm just saying that was the law she was breaking.
I do
So
have
then
a-
that
Potentially.
allows
But
breaking that law.
might allow her to be detained. That's not what he did, though. He just shoved her to the ground.
Right, but you're saying that shoving is not an objectively reasonable use of force in a situation where someone is not complying.
No, it's not. Of course, it's not. Well, you'd be wrong.
Well, I have
That's not even a. You can't. You're never gonna. You can't show me a single video of a cop just shoving somebody to the ground who's just standing out in the open, like
Well, yeah,
maybe it's
the
part
way
of a
you
struggle
frame
or
these
part of a fight.
things.
Well, yeah, okay. The way I frame them, I agree, is loaded. But that's why it would be nice to play this
I think
video.
it's
and hear
good.
what you watch.
That's why
I
you're
do
good at
have
what you
I do have the
but-
video if you guys would like me to show it. I do have a little scene here in OBS.
Yeah, do it. Go to like 30 seconds and just play it very, very slowly. And I want you to tell me at what point here was it necessary for the officer to shove this lady? Like, where was the
I have case
crowd?
law too.
Where was he? Like, what is he protecting? Like, what is?
Oh wait, I just thought. Okay, you know what I can do? So Alex, are you able to see it on your side?
Am
I see he
says I have
started
to-
screen sharing. Do I have to do something
No,
to see
I
the
just
screen sharing?
now I see it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I see it. Okay.
Let me just tweak this because here we go.
Just skip ahead to like 30 seconds if you can.
We don't need to hear it, right? I don't hear it.
No, that's fine.
So look, I mean, all right, well,
So
I guess
so
it's hard
pause.
to tell.
Okay, right here. This is good. Okay, pause here. So, like, where's the crowd? I see 3 people. There's the one lady who's been shoved, the other lady, and then, well, go to like 32 seconds and pause it.
So is the person video recording from this angle? This is the second woman. So that's
No,
those 3.
okay, sure.
So no, there's a 4th woman or person. Whoever's recording this, pink jacket, probably a woman. But there's
Okay.
2 women there. There's a guy. There's
Yep.
someone recording.
Yeah.
There's also people arriving in vehicles because they've spotted the ICE agents, right? And
Yeah, but they're not here
it's-
yet, so we're not including them as part of the crowd. There's nothing really happening here, right? He shoves a lady because he's
Well-
pissed off. We should be able to admit this. Like, it's not like play the thing, and the lady walks out. What is he pushing her for? He's mad. He's pissed off.
He can be both pissed off and push the lady, and it be legal.
But he's not pushing her for any good reason. He's just pushing her because he's assaulting her. He's mad.
She's not listening.
She is, though.
Is-
She's
is
literally
he- is he
walking toward.
giving-
First of all, she's not doing anything illegal right now, and she's
Yes,
just
she
walking
is.
towards the side. What is she doing illegal? She's not allowed to stand there.
She's not allowed to impede on an investigation. If she
What
was impeding on
investigation
an
is she impeding
investigation-
on?
Well, we actually don't have all of that information. There was just a report released just recently that says there was an investigation. We don't know exactly what it is. But all
Okay,
of
so
this
we
is
don't see her
actually
impeding- so then-
irregardless to the use of force.
Well, but so we don't see her impeding on any investigation here. It looks like he's just mad and assaults her. He just shoves her into the snowbank because he's upset.
Okay. Let's say it was a unlawful detention or an unlawful use of force there on her.
Yep.
Now what?
If it's an unlawful use of force, which I think it was, I think the guy was mad. I think it's understandable that another adult male with a moral compass would be like, "Hey, whoa, don't hurt the lady," and then go over and try to pick her up.
Yep. But is that legal or illegal for him to do?
Well, it depends on what the officer's doing. If the officer's attempting to arrest the lady, then that would be an obstruction of an arrest, and then the officer could detain the man, not murder him. If the officer's just acting wilding out and just smacking a woman and the guy's moving over to help her up, I don't think the guy's doing anything wrong or illegal there.
Well, if he then approaches the agent, and I don't know if we have any angles that actually show him touching him. The angle that we have, there's someone standing in front of him. I think another agent, so we don't see like if he actually touches the agent. But assault isn't actually touching, right? So if an objectively reasonable officer in his situation, the agent who he got in front of, would think that this man is either assaulting me or about to assault me, he has the right to detain him, correct?
He could detain him, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So then he detains him, right?
No, he basically just starts
Or
whiling
tries
on him.
to. Yeah, so he pepper sprays him, which again is look. I have this right here. I want to bring up Bernini.
Why did he pepper spray him?
Because he could.
You can pepper spray
That's a
somebody when you try to
low-level-
arrest somebody. You can just pepper spray them
Yes,
immediately.
absolutely. Yes.
Okay, what are you citing for that?
Well, we'll get to that, but Bernini versus City of St. Paul, 8th Circuit, 2012. These are exact quotes. Officers were not required to allow demonstrators to continue obstructing streets after being ordered to disperse. And on the physical force, the Constitution does not require police to use the least intrusive method of responding to an exigent situation. There's another one, Crowell versus Kirkpatrick.
Wait. Let's
Yeah.
analyze. So what is that case about? Can you read me a quote from this so that I can look this up?
This is Bernini, 665 Federal 3rd at Section 1006. Officers were not required to allow demonstrators to continue obstructing streets after being ordered to disperse. That was the first quote I gave you. The second one, I believe, is in the same section.
Okay, so it sounds like for that first one, it sounds like this doesn't apply to the situation at all, right?
Well, it's not about applying directly to situations. It's about the doctrines that come from these rulings.
Well, yeah, but this is a unit that was apparently, it was attempting to break police lines. They'd committed several state law offenses, including third-degree riot and unlawful assembly. Yeah, what are we citing this for? What do we think this is giving us the power to do? It seems like the argument was whether or not they had the right to arrest people that were part of this group, and the court case held that they had the right to. Well, wait, just real quick. But this had nothing to do with just pepper spraying people randomly or.
Well, that's not what we were talking about. We're talking about pushing.
Okay, but if this is a riot,
protesters back.
Yeah, but if this is a group of people that were trying to break a police line, and these people were in an area that had been declared they weren't allowed to be there.
Right, but
if
again,
they
it's the
unlawful assembly.
doctrines from the rulings. It's not about the exact specific situation.
The doctrines are applied, though, to the situations as appropriate. This doesn't sound like a situation where this doctrine would apply.
So when it says the Constitution does not require police to use the least intrusive method of responding to an exigent situation, that would cover exactly what happened with this lady.
No,
and with
it absolutely wouldn't.
What would be the least intrusive?
The least intrusive would probably just be to ask them to move.
Yeah, when they refuse to move.
I don't know, you could call for a guy to come over and tell them that they're under arrest, tell them to sit down, tell them they're going to be detained.
Right. So are they required to use the least intrusive method?
No, but just because you're not required to use the least intrusive method doesn't give you carte blanche to use any method that you so choose. Pepper spray is that's a huge.
No, it's not.
Yes, what do you mean?
It's less lethal. It's less lethal. You get over it within the hour.
Within an hour, hold on, yeah, but it's still a huge escalation from nobody's really attacked anybody. Well, the officer attacked the lady. Nobody's really done anything yet. Just start pepper spraying people is a huge, you're aware that like in the vast majority of arrests, pepper spray is not employed, right? Like that's an exceedingly rare thing.
Again, so even though there wasn't a large crowd here, these are crowd control tactics because they're dealing with crowds of people who are on the line of impeding with them all day, right?
But that's not happening here. I don't know what you're talking about there. That's not happening here, right?
No, well, they're in a mode of crowd control, so they're using
no crowd
control
to control. No, and the people aren't doing anything illegal
because as they're going around doing their investigations, crowds of people are coming up to them.
That's fine, but that's not happening right now. This isn't a crowd right here. There's no crowd here. There's 3 people. The guy shoves the lady into the stomach because he's mad. He's not controlling the situation.
He doesn't have to detain her.
Well, but he can't hit her then. If he's not going to, if he's not going to detain her, then he absolutely can't push her for no reason.
Well, why not? Just because he isn't detaining her doesn't mean he couldn't have, right?
In this case, yeah, that would just be assault battery. He's just attacking her then. What is the justification for attacking her if he doesn't have a reason to detain her and arrest her?
Do you have to have somebody use force on you in order to use force on them as an officer?
Do I have to have somebody, or I probably would have to be, do you have to? No, not necessarily. They could just be to detain you, right?
Right, exactly. So instead of detaining, he pushed to get her out of the way because she wasn't complying.
If you're pushing somebody, it should be somebody that you're willing to detain, though, right? If you're going to use physical force on somebody, okay, and he doesn't. It doesn't seem like he has any care to. It doesn't look like he's attempting to. Well, but
it's still lawful.
No, an officer should be in the process of detaining you if he's pushing you. Otherwise, what? An officer can just walk around and find people with probable cause or reasonable suspicion, just start attacking them and say, well, I'm not going to arrest you, I just want to attack you?
Well, no, you would actually determine it case by case through an objectively reasonable officer's eyes without 2020 hindsight.
That determination
So-
has already been made by the time you're employing physical force, though, because you're saying that your
What do you mean?
justification for physical force is you've reached the threshold to detain them. So if you're using physical force, you've already made the determination that they could be detained. That's part of what your physical force is being
Okay,
employed
you
for.
don't have to detain somebody.
You should, though. Otherwise, the officer's just running
Why?
around attacking people.
Isn't that exactly what people said about Renee Good? He should have just detained her.
Yeah, he probably should have if that's what he wanted to do. Yeah.
Right.
That-
And when she fled, what happened?
I don't see how that applies here at all.
Look, irregardless, this has nothing to do with the actual use of force based on the provocation doctrine.
I don't know what provocation doctrine means in this sense, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that
So-
in terms of the officer here, I'm just saying for the
Yeah.
facts of the matter, right?
Let's
the officer is
say-
mad and the officer shoves the lady. He's not trying to detain her. She's not blocking or impeding anything that we can see. You admitted that. You said that, well, we don't know if there was an investigation. Maybe it was the case that the officer was trying to investigate the underside of the driver's side tire and she happened to be sitting in front of it. I don't think that's the case. I don't think you think that's the case.
There was an investigation. We just don't have access to say what investigation there was. We're going off of the testimony of DHS.
I don't think DHS has released any testimony unless you're talking about Christy
Yeah,
Noem, whose
literally
statements have
about
already been
an
walked
hour-
back.
So it was about like an hour or two ago, and we don't have, it was DHS's report to Congress, which we don't have access to publicly, but some news outlets reported on it because they had
Okay,
access
sure,
to
but I
them.
think that thing an hour ago, one of the big things that came out from that was that the guy hadn't brandished a weapon before officers executed him either. So I don't think
nobody's
anything in
saying
that
he
thing
did
is helping.
brandish a weapon.
Sure. So just backing up, I'm really trying to figure out. Did you ever figure out how to get this playing, James?
Yep, we can play it.
What is at what point here? What is he pushing this lady for?
So I'm willing to just completely concede that
Mhm.
he pushed her unlawfully.
Okay.
He used too much force there.
Okay.
And that also, when he was detaining Pretti, it was an unlawful detention. Let's just say, for argument's sake, I concede those points.
Okay.
That doesn't affect the use of force after.
I think it heavily plays into it. That
How
if
so?
because you've created through your own making a situation where you've basically locked this person into an event where they're going to be killed by the end if they're still carrying a weapon.
No, not at
How
all.
could, at the time of Alex Pretti getting pepper sprayed, from that moment to the end of his life, what could he have done to avoid getting killed reasonably?
Not resisted.
Do you think that a person who's being tackled by 5 or 6 people who's just been
Yes.
pepper sprayed, I didn't even finish my sentence, a guy
I'm
who's just
sorry,
been
I knew where you
pepper
were going.
sprayed, you think that person can reasonably be of sound mind and just sit there and be chill or whatever?
No, I think that he can absolutely allow officers. There was like 4 or 5 officers trying to grab his arms and legs.
He didn't know that
Uh,
though, right?
It doesn't matter what he does and doesn't. He's surrounded by officers.
He doesn't
Obviously,
know
knows
he
he's
doesn't
being
even know he's
detained.
surrounded. How could he have known that?
Says who?
He
So
was
an
pepper sprayed. He
agent
couldn't
pepper
see.
sprays him and
Yeah.
then grabs him, and he doesn't know he's being detained.
That's not what you just said. You said there were 4 or 5 officers around him. I have no idea
so-
what he knows at that point. He's been pepper sprayed. The whole point of that is to mess your senses up so you have no idea
And
what's
they're-
going on. And then he's tackled to the ground and then
And
he's
they're yelling
killed.
commands at him.
Well, multiple people are yelling a lot of things, but I don't know if it's reasonable to expect.
Is he resisting?
I don't know if I would characterize it as that. I would say it's on
Okay.
the border of.
If 5 people were or 4 people were pulling at each one of your limbs, how hard do you think it would be to stay in a fetal position, upright on your knees and elbows?
If I,
There's 4 people, each have a limb of yours or are grabbing at your limbs, trying to spread you out, get you flat. That's what
I
they're
don't
trying
know.
to do. They try
It
to get him
depends.
flat.
I mean,
It'd
considering
be
that
very
it's
hard.
not that hard. The guy, we've seen the guy. He's not
Okay, would you
a shredded
would you have to
bodybuilder.
resist?
Yeah, to some extent. I'm not saying he's not resisting.
Right.
What I'm saying
Okay.
is that he's locked on a path to where, this is always going to play out this way. If you pepper spray somebody and then try to do something with them immediately after, they're always going to be mind fucked. Like, reasonably, no person's going to be like, oh, let me calmly comply while all of my shit is getting fucked up. That's just never going to happen.
It does happen all the time. People get pepper sprayed and arrested without dying all the time.
Without
Even
dying,
armed.
but it's going to turn into a violent situation afterwards.
Not if they
That's it.
if they don't resist. You just
Okay,
admitted he was
I'm
at
willing
least
to-
resisting a little bit.
I'm willing to wait for us to find a video with a guy getting pepper sprayed and then within 2 seconds afterwards calmly complying with police officers. I'll wait for that video.
I mean, I could literally find one probably very easily.
I know, yeah, I'll wait for it. I'll wait.
You want to
I'm
do
okay
it
waiting for it.
right now? Either way, it does
No, not either
matter.
way, because that's a death.
Yes.
That's a death event. If you get pepper sprayed
What?
and then you get tackled, you're always
ever
going to be
been pepper
trying
sprayed?
to. You're gonna. No, I haven't, thankfully. But
Okay,
like,
so
you're
then
gonna.
what would you know about that?
I did the one chip challenge. I've eaten the spiciest chip available
Okay.
in all of
Were
mankind.
you incapacitated? I have too. And actually, it is similar to getting pepper sprayed, except it's not in your eyes.
Except it's not
But
in your
that
eyes
feeling-
and nose.
But that feeling in your eyes is not going to literally incapacitate you. You still
What
have
do you
some of your
think-
sense about you.
Barely. What do you think the point of pepper spraying somebody is? This is a mutually exclusive position. If you're saying you could be
Have
pepper
you
sprayed,
not seen people get tased and still just eat it and just come right after cops?
no, that's only when the taser doesn't make the correct contact.
And people are messed. They get pepper sprayed. I could pull up a video right now. I don't know if actually we could play it on here, but a man has a blade, right? Cop pulls up. He sees the blade, gets out of the car. The guy instantly charges him. They're running in circles as the cop's shooting him, and the guy runs for like 15 seconds after him after being shot 6 times by a 9mm.
Okay.
So pepper spray and being tased, even, you're not going to immediately be incapacitated. Especially
All of
not
these
just
things
OC
function
spray.
differently. A pistol shot is just wounding you. Depending on where you hit, you might not even necessarily register the feeling at all. I don't think adrenaline counteracts spicy capsaicin fucking up of your senses or whatever.
Right.
And in terms of how a taser is supposed to function or a stun gun is supposed to function, when the two electrodes make contact with your body, it passes a current that locks your muscles up. It's not about it hurting you or causing pain. So all of these things get compliance in a different type of manner. Generally, pepper spray, when you pepper spray somebody, their shit is going to be fucked for a little bit. And the idea of pepper spraying somebody and then tackling them immediately, there's always going to be some level of like the guy doesn't even know what's going on. Like if this guy was fighting for like 5 minutes after getting pepper sprayed, or even a minute maybe, I could understand this. But like from the time of him being sprayed to executed, is it even 10 seconds?
And in that time, he was able to resist arrest physically.
Yeah, but
and
he's always going to be resisting.
reach towards his waistband. Honestly, I don't think the intention there was to pull the gun. I think what happened maybe even was that he felt that his gun wasn't on him. And so
Maybe he was
reached for
just
it see where
trying
it
to get
was.
up.
And that could be the case, but if an objectively reasonable officer sees that as a movement towards grabbing his gun, he has every right to pull the trigger.
So then he's locked on a death passage. He can't. There's no way off the
Don't
train.
reach. Don't resist and don't reach.
How about
You're carrying
don't
a
pepper spray
firearm.
somebody? How about don't pepper spray somebody for no reason? There was no reason to pepper spray him.
And even
right?
if that was illegal,
was there
it has
was
nothing
there a
to do
reason?
with the use of force. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
of course it does, because you're
Based on
inducing a situation where you're just going to have to kill
No,
the guy.
officer created jeopardy is completely different than that.
How?
Because officer created jeopardy is specifically about the officer placing himself in immediate danger, not in potential danger.
How is he not placing himself in danger when he's pepper sprayed a guy and then climbed on top of him and then found out he had a concealed carry on him, and now that's given him justification to execute him?
Right. So at what point was he in immediate danger?
When he was using at what point was the officer in immediate danger?
Mhm.
I guess he felt that way when they identified he had a firearm.
When? No, that's potential danger. When did the officer felt like he was in immediate danger?
As soon as they identified he had a firearm.
No, that's potential danger. If there's no reach, it's unjustified, right? There's cases like this all the time where cops pull people over. They either have illegal firearms on them or legal.
You think that
and
the
they
reason
shoot
why he
them.
shot him was because he saw the guy reach for a gun?
Yeah, if not, it's
So
unjustified.
one, you have no information to justify that, right? You can admit
Yeah,
that.
I have the video.
No. You don't have any
Yes.
statements. You can't see where the guy's eyes are. That's a total speculation on your part, right?
No.
What do you mean,
The-
no?
he-
You think
he
you know
reaches-
that? What?
Look, the guy has the gun on his back because he pulls the gun because there's potential danger now that he's armed.
Wait, who
and
pulls
what's he
the
looking
gun?
for?
The officer pulls the gun.
Yeah, there's the guy directly behind him. So when the guy grabs the gun off of him, I'm not sure what cop knows where the gun is at this point, but
Yeah.
the guy takes the gun and he dips off, right?
Yep. So he's
And
taking the
after
gun.
he
So if the
dips
other
off-
officer is
No,
looking for a
yeah.
firearm, then he's seen the gun be removed. If we're going to go with that.
No, so they say he's got a gun. Even if he removes the weapon and the officer sees him remove the weapon, you don't assume that he doesn't have any other weapons on him. You don't have to.
All right.
Legally.
So,
So then
like every
he
single
pulls
part
the
of
gun
this
out.
explanation is contrived, and you don't believe any of this.
How?
So the officer
How?
assaulted that woman in the street for no reason.
You
There was
think-
no crowd.
you
You made
think
that up.
he-
You said there
he
was a crowd.
shot-
There was no crowd. We watched the video. There's no crowd. So he's shoving,
You
attacking
think-
a woman
you
for no
think the
reason.
agent
You have
shot
a
him because he
guy-
just
you have a
wanted to
guy
murder
who
him.
is you have a guy who is no. He shot him because he's undertrained, and the officer induced a situation where an idiot with a gun, which is not what we expect cops to be, by the way. The reasonable cop standard is based on a police officer with training, much the same way that we would look at an EMT and his actions and at the scene of an accident as the reasonable
And-
standard for an EMT, not an
And
ordinary
how much
person who's
training
not trained.
does the officer who shot have?
I don't know. How much training does he have? Should be enough to be a federal
Okay, so
agent,
you
right?
don't know then.
Enough
So why
to
are you
be a
saying he's not
federal
trained?
agent. If he doesn't, then he's just a murderer. and he's out on the
Okay.
streets looking to murder people. So then
But
he
you
should be
said
charged with
earlier he's
murder.
not trained.
What?
You said he's undertrained or something like that.
I said it seemed to be evidence of poor or bad training. Yes.
And you're just saying that because
Because
he
there was
shot
no
him?
good because one, he was assaulting a woman for absolutely no reason, and two, because he was employing pepper spray for absolutely no reason.
again, it has absolutely nothing to do with the use of force.
What do you mean? What has nothing to do with the use of force?
The prior situation here has nothing to do with, at the time that the force was used, what was going on. Did it
But
seem like he was
but at time.
reaching
What do you
for a
mean?
weapon?
Hold on. If they were fighting or whatever, and they had like an extended back and forth, and then the police officer, in fighting the guy was like, I'm gonna have to shoot you, or I'm gonna have to detain you, or whatever, and the guy is like still fighting or whatever, and then at that point the police officer, deploys the pepper spray, and the guy continues to fight. Well, you've put the guy on notice. The guy knows you were gonna pepper spray him. He knows you talked about this. At this point, you have a much more reasonable assumption that this guy is willing to, I guess, fight to the death or something, right?
Yep.
None of that happened at the lead up to this, though. He shoves after assaulting the woman. He goes to kind of shove the guy.
armed.
Who is?
Pretti.
The officer doesn't know that.
He doesn't know it until he pulls his weapon after he figures it out.
Yeah, after he's already pepper sprayed the guy. He had no reason to pepper spray the guy.
It doesn't. So pepper spraying somebody doesn't give them the right to resist arrest and or reach.
I
in a
never
way
said
that
it gives
could
them
be-
the right to resist arrest, but he had no
Okay.
reason to pepper spray the guy.
It doesn't matter.
It literally does,
So,
because
all
it
right,
plays
so
into
let's say
whether or
it
not
was-
he thinks the
let's say-
guy would engage in a form of lethal behavior
Let's say if
towards
it
him.
was
It
let's
factors
say it was
into
justified. Let's say it was justified, right? Let's say the lawful order, or the spraying of the pepper spray was justified. That would only be justified under the Fourth Amendment, right?
If what?
If the pepper spray was justified, it's a use of force. It would only be justified under the Fourth Amendment.
I don't know about the Fourth Amendment, but okay.
The Fourth Amendment is that an officer, I can't quote it exactly, but this is where the use of force comes from. This is how we judge use of force in every situation.
I don't think that
For
it
officers.
matters for a continuum of
Yes,
force
it does. It
argument.
very much matters, the Fourth Amendment. Now,
Okay.
this is where Graham versus Connor comes in and all of that. So with the Fourth Amendment,
Wait, what do we
if
think?
it was
What are we
justified-
taking from Graham versus Connor here?
let me pull it up. The calculus of reasonableness must embody allowance for the fact that police officers are often forced to make split-second judgments. It's not the exact one I'm looking for.
Okay. He didn't have to make a split-second judgment here, right? The officer created all of these.
Of course, these are split-second
No,
discussions.
he's creating all of the negative situations. He's doing all of this. The officer's the one inducing all of these things.
Again,
right?
even if the provocation doctrine was one that would say, okay, if the officer illegally used force to make this person comply or to detain this person, then force later could be questioned, even if it was completely reasonable. Then the Supreme Court threw that out, so you can't use that. So even
Okay,
if
hold
it's
on. Let me
an
stop. Hold on.
illegal
I don't expect you to
search or seizure-
understand this, but I'll explain for the audience because you're not understanding what you're trying to explain here. What you're explaining is correct. So let's say that an officer, had a no-knock warrant, or let's say the officer had a search warrant for a house, and the officer is conducting an illegal search because they went to the wrong address. And let's say that when they go into the house or whatever, the guy's like, "Well, fuck you! Like I'm gonna beat the shit out of you," or whatever. And the officer's like, "Oh, look, I have a search warrant." And the guy's like, "Oh, I don't care." And the guy starts attacking the cop, and then he pulls out a knife, and the cop shoots and kills him. It doesn't matter that the original search warrant wasn't accurate. The cop doesn't
did
lose the
before.
right. What did before?
That was the provocation doctrine. The provocation doctrine would say then the use of force is no longer acceptable.
I'm not concerned with that. I don't know what is when you say provocation doctrine. What are we referring? Is this prior to Felix v. Barnes, or this is the most recent stuff
I
I've
don't
read
know
on
if
this?
it's-
Regardless, what I'm saying here is that like the cop doesn't lose the right
And
to
it was-
self-defense just because an initial action might not have been legal, right? I think we can all agree with that. I think that's reasonable. I think ethically, morally, it
because
makes
the
sense.
provocation doctrine was struck down.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, it makes sense, right? It makes sense that the cop, just because the cop might make a misstep in the beginning, now his life is forfeit if the other guy decides to
Right.
respond. Okay. However, you engaging in illegal actions as a police officer, especially those involving physical force, should factor into your overall determination of the threat that's posed to you by the person that you are detaining. So, for instance, if a police officer,
You just contradicted yourself.
I didn't. Let me explain.
Yeah.
If a police officer tell somebody, okay, like, hey, you're under arrest. I'm going to arrest you. And then the guy starts running, and the guy's running away, and he's trying to escape, and he's hopping through fences, and he might be breaking through windows or do whatever, right? The guy seems like he's trying to escape. He's been put on notice. He's under arrest. If at some point, the cop and him get into a scuffle, well, this guy wants to fight, and there might be a reach for a gun or whatever, where the officer's like, I don't know, this guy might try to kill me, and that would be reasonable given the totality of the circumstances leading up to that event. However, let's say that a cop thinks that somebody broke a law rule and he just really fucking wants to arrest a guy or whatever. Let's say that the cop like runs up to some dude behind him in public and tackles him, and that guy starts resisting. Your calculation there for, oh, he's resisting, so he must want to fucking kill me. That's not the same calculation. There's a lot of reasons why a reason. Okay, well, you're just wrong.
Well,
you're wrong ethically, morally, legally. You're wrong.
You said because
nothing.
No, you're talking about use of force now. You just changed it.
No.
Yes, you just changed it. Repeat what you just said.
If an officer would have randomly, from the perspective of the person being tackled, if the police officer would just randomly tackle you and go to arrest you, you would expect an ordinary person that's not presenting a threat to you to engage in some level of resistance. Yeah, he just got
Does
tackled.
he know
what's
he's
going
being arrested?
He might not.
Okay, so that's completely different.
It's not. Alex Pretti didn't know he was being arrested. He probably had no idea
know he was being arrested?
Correct. He
was in the face of Border Patrol agents.
He just got pepper sprayed. The whole point of a pepper spray is to discombobulate a person's senses.
Right, and then 5 people tackle him to the ground.
He's not even cognizant of what's going on.
Yeah, it must be the fellow protesters tackling him to the ground. You're right.
First of all, I don't think everybody
all the women around him.
Wasn't it? Well, you're all the women that you said presented a threat to this cop. They needed to engage in crowd control.
All right, so now you're saying exactly. So there's no crowd. There's only these 3 women and all of these Border Patrol agents, but he didn't know that 5 grown men tackling him to the ground was him being detained.
I don't think he was aware of how many. If you were to ask this guy at the moment that he got shot, how many men do you think are on? I don't think he would have any idea. No.
Yeah, but if you asked him if he was being detained, he would say, absolutely, that's why I'm resisting.
No, I don't think so. I think you're delusional to think that. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I mean, it's clear that he obviously knew he was being detained, and he was obviously resisting. And then, again, I don't think he intended to pull his weapon, but he did make furtive movements that I think an objectively reasonable officer could see as him trying to reach for a weapon after finding out that he was armed.
No. What on the ground?
Honestly,
when a person is on the ground, how many ways can you move your hands that doesn't look like you reaching for a weapon?
Why are you trying to get up? Why are you trying to move your hands?
Because you've just been pepper sprayed and shoved to the ground. You have no idea what's going on.
And people are literally grabbing your limbs and trying to arrest you, most likely issuing commands. If we watch that video, I guarantee you will hear a bunch of commands being thrown at him to stop resisting, most likely. And then all he has to do is go limp, and they will do the rest.
I don't know if the guy has the wherewithal to go limp right after he's been pepper sprayed, but you're never going to give him that point because it destroys your entire,
No matter what his wherewithal or intention was, what if he was drunk?
He wasn't.
Yeah, but what if? What if he was cocked out of his mind? He had no idea what was going on, and he did the same exact thing. Would you make the excuse for him there?
If the officer's aware of it, then yes, you would. As the Supreme Court
says who?
The Supreme Court.
Where?
It's a totality of circumstances to figure out what led up to that moment to see if a reasonable officer would assume the person is trying to do it. If a person is drunk, you would evaluate their actions differently than a person who's sober. Yes.
Right. So if a drunk guy seems to reach for a weapon, a cop can't shoot him.
Depending on how drunk he is, you would evaluate the actions of a drunk guy differently than a sober guy. Yes.
Okay. I mean,
do you think a cop would evaluate the actions if you know a guy is wasted? He would evaluate those actions the same as a guy who's not wasted, who's sober.
If it seems that he's reaching for a weapon, yes, he would evaluate.
We don't know that this guy is reaching for a weapon. The guy is on the ground.
It doesn't matter.
What he makes could be reaching for a weapon.
It does. Well, if it seems to an objectively reasonable officer, and you can make that argument based on the video, then they have the right to shoot. And he doesn't just hear, oh, he's got a gun, pulls the gun out and shoots. He hears, oh, he's got a gun, he pulls the gun out.
James, play the video and tell me at what point is he reaching for his weapon here? Could that officer behind him say he's reaching for the weapon?
I would like to play my angle.
Okay, I will play it from where we have it.
We might need the other one. I don't know if this is the same one, but go ahead. You can play this one first if you like.
Can you see it play on your side?
No.
Oh, that's right. Okay, 2 seconds. Let me, I'm trying to remember how I did it just before because I had it screen shared. Okay, I'm going to play the one that while I'm screen sharing it because the way I had it was different. So screen share, And then let me just find the way. Oh, yeah, I know. I think this is how I did it. Okay.
Some of these angles, when the shots get fired, they go crazy. So I don't know.
I think this is the same video that I showed.
You're not going to be able to see from that angle. I got
if you have one,
yeah,
it'll simplify my little production setup. If you're able to screen share it from your side, Alexxander,
I can screen share it. It just might be choppy as like last time, but let's try it.
Okay. And then if you'd like to have audio, just be sure you click that little box that'll ask you when you click share.
Yeah, I should do the audio. Let's see.
And then, folks, that poll is still in the live chat. Currently, the plurality or the highest voted option in response to do you think Alex Pretti was murdered it's 44% for yes, followed by 39% for no, and then 17% I don't know enough yet. And Alex, we can see yours now, your video.
Cool. All right. So this is slowed down. This is not but this is just showing the movement of his arm.
Yep.
So down here,
yep,
you can actually see his hand, right? See his hand down. All right, now watch it come up. See how it's sliding up?
No.
You're going to see, what do you mean? His hand's gone from this bottom here. You can see the hand. It's also tough. Is it skipping for you, or is it smooth?
No, keep playing. Let's see where he's reaching for his gun.
Look, right? His elbow comes up. You can see it right there. That's his elbow. And then he gets shot there. I don't have the sound on.
Hasn't the firearm literally already been removed at that point?
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? So he's good. So he's dead.
Someone
so he's
could
locked
have
in a death sequence. He's locked in a death sequence.
First off, they say he's armed. So they remove a gun, but I don't know exactly who knows where the gun is.
So you're telling me the cop
point.
behind him holding the gun can see so well that he can determine the guy's hand coming up, but he can't see the other cop pull the gun out of his waistband?
Even if he does,
you're telling me that the police
matter.
officer can see the hand coming up, but he can't see the officer's hand reaching in and pulling the gun from his waistband?
Go ahead. I'll concede that too, and it doesn't matter.
It does, though, because we're saying a reasonable officer standard. You're telling me that the officer was able to see the guy reaching up with his hand that was in front of his body, but he couldn't see his fellow officer pull the gun from his waistband?
If you remove a firearm for somebody, does that mean they can't have another firearm?
So then in that case, the guy's hands can move anywhere on his body. He could have a gun hidden literally anywhere. He could be Vash the Stampede and his hand could turn into a gun.
Well,
or it could be the Terminator, or it could be any number of Ghost of the Shell complex anime machine. He could have guns anywhere in his body. So in that case, anywhere he moves his hands is a fair shoot.
It's always harder to defend in court when they don't find a weapon on him at all. But
wait, that shouldn't matter. Wait, no, hold on, careful. That shouldn't matter. It should be a reasonable officer's interpretation at the time. It doesn't matter if he has another gun on him or not. It depends on what a reasonable officer could determine. You're saying the two-gun theory. Name one.
I'll have them right here.
Okay, give me one, and we'll look it up. Because the other one didn't support anything you were saying at all. It was about dispersing a crowd of people that were unlawfully assembled.
I'll boost it or check you out a screen share on this side. Okay. And then you'll get in the same way that you had it before. And then, folks, if you'd like to participate in discussions, including we are hoping to do in-person ones shortly. Let me load this on the bottom right of the screen. You can reach out, as we are planning on hosting these in Los Angeles and Phoenix in the next 6 months.
Sorry, I have a quote I'm looking for. It says, "The officers do not need to be certain if there is a weapon or not."
Yeah, no one's doubting that. But to assume the guy has a second weapon?
Yes, you don't need to be certain if there is a weapon or not. What does that mean? It means the guy was uncertain. Was he certain that that man did not have a weapon? Another weapon?
Are you saying a cop can just kill you all the time, no matter what?
No, not at all. Listen, the furtive movement has to be made in order for someone to say you're reaching for a weapon.
You're just like rambling off like little random points. Also, that video that you have, that video is not showing that's not his elbow coming up. That's just him standing up. That's his butt in that video.
What?
It's his butt
That's
in
not
the
his
video.
butt.
It
He's
is.
wearing khakis, and the thing you're seeing is the color of his jacket.
No. There's a reason why
you.
you don't have this from any other video angle, and there's a reason why it's just
What do
a mega dick suck account that's like the one posting this. Legacy media will never show you this video of Alex Pretti reaching for his loaded handgun before an ICE agent shot him in self-defense. Pass it on, right? Like that.
It is
DHS
bad
doesn't even
optics to
stand
get
by.
it posted from there, but
Well, the DHS doesn't even stand by the
It's just a video
statement.
slowed
So
down
like,
from the same angle.
yeah, that's fine, but like it's you can see it's like it's artifacting kind of like the coloring is kind of off, like on his pants or whatever. Like, you can see his pants almost like
Oh, so you're
transform.
saying it's a fake video.
I didn't say it's fake. It's just JPEG artifacts or whatever you call the MP4 or whatever artifacting. I don't think it's his. I don't think that's his elbow. I don't think so.
So
and
where,
even if it
where
was,
does his hand moves in the same direction?
I mean, I can give you. I linked another video
And
that
why
highlights
is-
where his hand. I linked another video that's from multiple angles that shows where the hand is the entire time. He wasn't reaching for his weapon. Even the DHS isn't making this claim. They're not going to make this.
Directly after that. Well, if they don't, then it would be unjustified.
Oh, okay. So if it came out later on, or if we saw from other angles that the officer was actually holding his arm the entire time, and that's not his arm coming up, then we would say, oh, well, the shoot was unjustified.
Yeah, because where's the immediate threat?
Agreed. Okay, well, then contend with this.
So,
I linked another video, this Reddit post. James, play this one.
An officer can't just claim you have a weapon on you or even know you have a weapon on you and shoot because of that reason alone. We agree there.
Let me remember, how did I do this? Yeah, okay, I've got it.
The only other way would be is if that gun actually did misfire, and it would be reasonable to expect that this person fired. But we don't know if that happened.
Like 20 different ways for the cops to kill you, I guess.
I mean, there is. Don't resist officers, especially while armed.
You shouldn't pepper spray somebody for no reason and then expect them to be able to immediately comply.
Well, you should either way. That's the law.
Okay.
So if you want to change the laws, that's fine. But legally, he was well within his right to do everything he did.
I don't think so. I think there's a reason why the federal government helped him flee the state.
All right, I have the video showing so the audience can see it. And Alex, it might be easiest this time if you play it from the start, and that way you're able to watch it in real time. So I've got it back at 0.
This is the video you just shared from Reddit?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Let me know. All right, hitting play at 3, 2, 1.
I've been blocked by network security. What did I do?
No problem. I will share it, and you'll be able to see it that way.
I don't even use Reddit.
If you have a VPN or something, it might be a certain VPN is.
You've been going on those websites I told you not to go on, Alexander.
All right, I got it pulled up on my end too now.
Okay, if you can't...
I just did it incognito.
You got it. Let me take it out of screen share then. Stop share. Okay. Thanks for your patience.
What specific, like what second are we focusing on here?
I'm at first second in and hitting play in 3, 2, 1.
It's just like the first 15 seconds, basically.
I don't. What's the point?
I don't see at any point here where he's reaching for his firearm.
In the first 15 seconds. Windows. Yeah, it doesn't show the first shot in the first 15 seconds.
The shot happens at 14 seconds.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it completely skips like at least 2 seconds there.
No?
Yes. You can see the camera angle switch. He's standing up, right?
Oh my god!
All right, so look, right.
No, the camera angle's not switching. It's just it's full screening the bottom camera. Nothing is skipping.
Oh my god!
So is the sound on for this?
The fuck did
The audience
you
can
just
hear it
do?
on my side.
The fuck did you just do?
So right there, you see the exact same thing you see in my video. It's the same exact angle.
Somebody call
his arm is being controlled. There's a whole officer to his right. Or hold on, let
And
me.
his arm comes up.
Is it your position that this man has the strength to move his arm back to go and get his weapon, a weapon that's been removed from his body, by the way, that he has the strength to get that arm back, independent of the entire full-grown adult male kneeling next to him that's restraining his arm?
It very well could be that he released pressure because he heard he has a gun. As you can see, all of them eventually back up.
Why would you release pressure from a man when
because
they
he
told you
has
he's got
a gun? Because they're getting ready to get back and use force. But either way, if he didn't, he was obviously resisting.
Okay.
Either way, if he didn't, he was obviously resisting.
It's ridiculous. Of course he's resisting. He's always going to be resisting. He just got pepper sprayed.
Okay, so
his mind is. Yeah, that doesn't give the cop the right to kill you. That doesn't give the cops the right to kill you.
Hold on. You're saying he's resisting 4 people, right?
I don't even know if he's aware there's 4 people on him.
Is he resisting 4 people? I don't care if he's aware of it.
He is, yes.
Okay. So then isn't it just as likely that all 4 people would be able to flatten him out versus one person just on one arm?
I don't know. They're on ice. They're partially mentally retarded. They don't have a good grip on him. They're getting the code instead.
Then your question doesn't make sense.
Well, the guy is kneeling next to him. I mean, what I'm saying is what happened, right? They took the gun. They did have control of his arms. The guy gets shot unarmed. There's no allegations from DHS. That last claim that you made about the statement they released an hour and a half ago, they said he wasn't brandishing his weapon. I don't know if there's been any claims it didn't say that.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying he's reaching for his weapon. I didn't let you finish.
I don't think any statement has come from DHS saying that he was reaching for his weapon at all. That's just your opinion. They've never even claimed that. You're giving an opinion there.
They didn't put out an official thing either. They literally said they're doing an investigation, and they gave some facts of the case.
Sure. So you have no evidence that this guy saw him going for a gun at all. He's already disarmed by the time it happens.
Well,
Keep in mind also that by the time
for it,
you don't know that.
What
Who's
does it
actively
mean
looking for what?
When you I don't know if you still have this up, James. Let me see if this angle has it, so we don't have to change videos. I don't know if this shows it. Oh yeah, so you can see I'm at about 9 seconds here. The guy with the jeans and the green shirt. Yep, same video. The guy with the
2 seconds. Let me just get to that point.
Yeah. No
you said 9 to 10 seconds in?
Yeah, we're looking at, it says the gray shirt guy is still there. His arm's basically on the gun of Alex Pretti's gun. And then behind him is the officer with the green shirt or whatever, brown shirt and jeans.
Let's see. I'm definitely at 9 seconds in, where it has the words hands and gun on the...
All right, so, yep. Is the officer reaching for his gun yet? I'm at 10 seconds now. He's got his hand on his holster like this, the officer behind Pretti.
2 seconds. I'm going to try to zoom in just a little bit. And
like the officer that shoots him even moves to the other side of his body. He wouldn't even have seen that arm moving. How would he have even seen it?
He's got a top-down view of his whole body.
Barely. In the middle of like 5 struggling people as he moves to the other side, how can he have this great of a perception of where the guy's arm is moving based on the position of his elbow while another guy's there, but he can't tell that another guy just disarmed him?
So resisting arrest shows intent. No,
it depends though on how they're resisting. It depends on what's the lead up to that moment. Do you acknowledge that it depends on the lead up to the moment of them resisting or no?
No. If it was based on unlawful use of force,
that's fine. If you don't acknowledge that, that's fine. But you're out of step with where the Supreme Court, where the law is right now on this.
So you have to do it. The provocation doctrine shut down?
I don't know, and I don't care. That's not relevant. That's not how we determine these things anymore. Right now, what we look at is a totality of the causes. We're looking at a totality of the causes, that lead up to that event. That's what the Supreme Court ruling is right now on how we analyze the situations.
I agree. You're also saying that if you have a previous Fourth Amendment violation, you can use that to understand the next Fourth Amendment violation. You can't.
You can.
The provocation doctrine was shut down. I proved that 100% here.
I don't even think you can't even explain. You can't even articulate what the provocation doctrine is.
I did in my opening statement. Did you hear it?
Say it again.
Are you paying attention? I'll read it again for you.
Because you can't articulate what the provocation doctrine is. You're looking up the AI-generated answer you have. So if you can't even articulate this doctrine, that I don't even think is in use
so now you're just
because
Felix
V. Barnes,
Here's
I'm not poisoning the well.
If officers unlawfully provoked a confrontation, they could be liable for later use of force. That's the provocation doctrine.
Yes, but that means what provocation doctrine, assuming what you just read is true, what that's saying is that just because an officer provokes somebody doing something illegal doesn't mean the officer is liable necessarily for all the future use of force. That could still factor, though, into their determination for whether or not their life is at risk when they're dealing with somebody.
Well, was the officer's life, if Pretti reached for his weapon or made a movement that seemed like it, would that constitute a justifiable use of force?
It depends on the situation leading up to it.
So if it's proven that he made a movement that looked like, to an objectively reasonable officer, he was reaching for a gun, that wouldn't necessarily prove a justified use of force there?
Wouldn't necessarily, correct.
Says who?
Well, one, he was disarmed, and then two, says the Supreme Court.
So, people have been shot without weapons on them, and the officers have been justified in use of force because of the way that they've moved toward their waist.
Yeah, but you have to consider the factors leading up to that. The cops just pepper sprayed the dude, and a ton of people were tackling to the ground. You have no idea what's going through this head. You can't determine at that moment, I know this guy's a killer. I know this guy's going to start attacking one of us, right? That's why I'm saying if there was a larger lead up to that event, if the officer and him were having a row, they were going back and forth, the guy started talking like, I got my gun on you, and I'll kill you guys if you take me down or whatever, and then they take him down, and then they see him reaching, now you have a much better argument for like, oh, a reasonable person, a reasonable officer even could have felt like his life was at risk at that point. But if you just start pepper spraying a dude in the face, and then you start tackling him, and the guy's like, and then you're beating him over the face with your fucking pepper spray can, and the guy's like arms are reaching around. No, that's a totally different situation. That's nothing to do with the legality of the conduct of the cops beforehand. It's just that a ton of people could respond in wild situations there where a reasonable officer wouldn't necessarily think, oh man, this guy's trying to murder us for sure.
Would he have been arrested after the fact for resisting?
He could have been. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So he committed the crime, right?
That has nothing to do with this argument, but yeah.
Yes, it
you
does.
Don't get murdered. You don't get executed in the United States for committing crimes generally.
No, but when the crime is resisting arrest or resisting lawful detention, or just detention in general, when you resist this and you're armed, courts have decided that you are inherently risky. It's an inherently risky situation. That's why it's okay for him to pull the gun. Do you disagree with that? That he shouldn't have?
I don't know what you mean inherently risky. You're plugging your own language into here. Everything is inherently risky. There's always a risk in a physical confrontation.
Yeah. Well, risk of serious bodily harm or death.
Just because a person has a firearm on them? No.
Yes, it's potential risk. More so than someone who does not or you do not know if they have a weapon on them. Once you know someone is armed, the risk is presented.
The cop didn't initially know he was armed.
No, but once he did, he pulled his firearm out, right?
Yeah, but then he was disarmed.
Do you think that he was allowed to pull his firearm out?
I think pulling the firearm is maybe okay.
Okay, and then you said he was disarmed, and I've asked you this before. Is it unreasonable to think that just because you've pulled one firearm off of somebody that they don't have another weapon?
Yes, that's unreasonable.
How is that unreasonable?
What is the percentage of perpetrators that carry multiple weapons on them?
It doesn't matter. It could be 1%.
It literally does matter. If it's one person,
it doesn't.
Then that goes to the reasonableness. It's an objective standard. Yes. If there's been one person in all of human history, then you would say, well, it's an unreasonable thing. If 90% of perps carry 2 guns on them, you say it's very reasonable to assume it's the second one.
Not at all. It's not based on that, because if you had a 1% chance of dying from skydiving, would you skydive?
I don't know what the chance. Maybe I don't know what the chances are.
Would it be reasonable to skydive?
1% seems kind of high to me. I don't think I would risk it.
Okay, so there are people who would, right?
Sure.
Okay, is it reasonable? It's within reason to assume that I should be safe here.
I don't even know how to. I don't know how to compute the question.
Okay. All I'm saying is, just because it's a 1% chance, which is probably much higher than that, but let's just say it's 1%, which seems low. Because of it's a life or death situation, right? If it's the case
with
that
this
you're
argument,
wrong on
every
that 1%,
single thing.
Wait, if it's no, because in court, cops
everything
literally
collapses.
have this lenience.
They don't. Everything collapses right now into, because isn't it the case that when you pull someone over or when you go to arrest somebody, they could have a gun? You know what? I'll submit this to you. There is a higher chance that a person that you don't know if they have a gun or not. There is a higher chance that they have a gun than there is that a person with one gun has 2. So this whole argument is absurd. It collapses in on itself immediately.
And if they make a quick movement to their waist and get shot, there have been tons of cases where the cops are justified in this use of force.
It depends. There are not tons of cases. That's why you're never able to cite one, okay? There are not, and it depends on what's going on leading up to the shoot. If a guy is being tackled and there's a bunch of cops on him, his arms are going to be flailing, especially if you just have pepper spray and a cop is hitting him in the head over and over again. It's going to impact how the guy is acting, such that it should change how you perceive those actions.
Yeah, well, it literally doesn't matter because he was resisting arrest. And
Resisting arrest doesn't give you a right to kill you. He wasn't reaching for his
No,
gun. You haven't proven that at all. You haven't proven that the officer
resisting
perceived that at all.
arrest while armed, which means the potential risk there is well known that
Doesn't
he could
matter.
pull
Doesn't
a
give you a right to
firearm
kill.
and kill somebody. It does once he makes the movement that could
We
be
don't see
seen
that
as
he's
him
made the
reaching for his
movement.
waist. I showed the video. I mean, I think it's very
We saw the
clear.
video. None of the other officers
And
there
you-
felt the
you
need to
just
pull
said
their
it's
gun.
a JPEG artifact or something.
None of the other officers
Yeah.
felt the need to pull a firearm,
Two-
and he was
two officers
disarmed
shot.
beforehand.
2 officers shot him.
Okay,
So
and
there were
one
2.
other. Well, was the other guy that shot? Did he do it in response to the first officer shooting, or because he thought there was a legitimate risk?
Well, I'm
and they
just saying,
shot
you said
similarly?
there was none, but an officer can't just shoot because somebody else shoots. They have to look at the threat themselves.
Well, but if multiple people are evaluating the same situation, if there's 5
Mm-hmm.
officers and only one perceives a threat, that might speak a little bit to the reasonableness of his perception there. No?
Well, the 2 officers shot. Everybody backed up once shots were fired, and actually, if the other officers shot, they might have been unjustified because by the time they backed up and unholstered their weapons, the guy was clearly dead.
I don't know if they could have determined that in that shallow
Well, they didn't
time
shoot.
period. Well, my understanding is one officer shot and another one might have pulled after, but I'm pretty sure there was one guy that shoots. I don't think 2 of them are shooting side by side. I think the
that
other one
was-
pulls it in response to
That
the
was
first
one
guy
of the
doing it.
facts. Yeah, that was one of the facts that was released. All we know is that 2 did shoot. And it's hard to tell from the video even exactly who. I think that the officer behind him was probably the first person to shoot.
Well, yeah, the officer behind him was the first person to shoot, yes.
So I think, honestly, I think the impasse here is on whether or not he reached for his weapon. Because
Kind of, but there is no real impasse here because there, in any other world, you would never agree. Because the analysis you've given has given a cop carte blanche to basically execute anybody that
No,
concealed
not at
carries.
all.
Maybe you're an anti-Second Amendment guy. You might be. I don't know your political background. I'd be surprised if you were. You're probably not. But you've given
No.
basically an excuse for a cop to assassinate anybody because they try to tackle somebody and
once-
arrest them, and the guy's been pepper sprayed and his hands are flailing. If they don't perfectly comply, then they die. That's the rule that you've
No.
written right there.
If they don't perfectly comply and they're armed, yes, they're held to a higher standard.
Okay. Not if they're held to a higher standard. If they don't perfectly comply and they're armed, they die.
Well, no, not if they don't perfectly comply. You can resist without showing movements towards reaching for your waist.
How? On the ground?
I'm just saying it's possible. It's not
You
logically
understand
impossible
that,
for people
like,
to do this.
like Euclidean geometry, your hand can only move in one direction, and once it's up here, any movement is a movement towards your waist, right? Like, what do you mean? What are we talking about? Like, any movement can be perceived. You're on the ground. If you reach forward to go down, you saw the execution of the Chris Shaver guy on video, right? He tried to pull his pants up, and he was already on his hands and knees, and that was interpreted as him reaching for his waistband. Any movement of your arm from this position is going to necessarily, in this universe and in all the ones that I know where geometry works the way that it does, is going to be a movement towards the waistband. So just own the rule at least,
Okay.
so that
Yeah.
this happens to somebody
If
in the
you're
future.
armed,
If you're
perfectly
armed, you just
comply
get-
or you're fucked.
Okay, all right, not fucked. You can be lawfully executed by the police.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's a
If
fine
you're
rule.
armed and resisting officers, I agree with that.
Gotcha.
This may be a chance to go into the question and answer. We do have a lot of questions already. Are you guys ready for that?
Yeah.
As usual, folks, we'd like sincere questions, not insults. I know it's the internet, but still. This one from, and just let me get to the list here. Thank you very much for your question. Steven Steen, longtime viewer, says, Stephen Miller is an evil, psychotic Nazi. Okay. Isn't that him? I don't know. GAI Gen Retard says, Alexander, are you pro-soft or pro-crunchy taco?
This is a clever fat joke. Honestly, I like crunchy, but if I get tacos, I'm getting like Taco Bell and I'm driving. So you got to do the soft. Otherwise, I'm just a mess.
It might be a sincere food question. We do get a lot of them, no
Okay,
joke.
okay.
Big League Drew says, wow, you're really going to make me side with a dude with a lady's name. Okay. Tyler S. says, I don't see in any universe where Alexander is going to win this debate. Destiny is going to clear this. Easy trust. No way to justify what happened. My guess is, Alexander, you might disagree still. Also,
There's very strong opinions about this on both sides, obviously.
that poll is still in the live chat. Over 2,000 have voted. Do you think Alex Pretti was murdered? Currently, the plurality is yes with 44%, no with 41%, and finally, I don't know enough about it yet with 15%. This one from Big League Drew says, I have a confession to make as someone who believes everyone should be carrying every day, everywhere. I have concealed carry at a BLM protest when I lived in Portland and even stood next to the police. Any thoughts?
It was just a confession.
I guess. Big League Drew says, here they come back. They say, is an officer justified in shooting if an acorn falls onto a car and the officer thinks it was a gunshot?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a wild situation. It is a hilarious. Well, it's not hilarious, but it is a wild video.
But the hypothetical. Let's say
You know the video. Well, there's a video. You know the video, right?
There's a video where an acorn sounds like a gunshot.
You know about this, Destiny?
Yep.
Yeah. There's a vehicle that gets hit by acorns, a cop car, and he interprets it as firing from inside the vehicle.
In your mind, though, if the guy would have struck the guy and killed him, that would have been a fair shoot, though, right?
No.
The guy was resisting arrest. The officer heard a sound. He could have reasonably perceived the guy resisting arrest in the back of the vehicle who wasn't coming out or whatever. I don't know, like that guy could have been shooting, right? That would be a fair. Would that be a fair shoot?
To be honest,
why would that? No, it'd be a fair shoot. The officer can reasonably believe he has a weapon, right?
I don't know the complete context of the situation.
Let's assume that they told him to get out of the car and the guy didn't. So he's resisting. So let's assume that they told him again and he didn't. You could assume he's in the back there. You can't see his hands, right? He could have a gun. And then you hear the acorn go off. In your mind, the cop would be fair to shoot and kill him from that position. It's what a reasonable officer.
A court trial proceeding would be fair in this situation, but yeah, it could be positioned as a way of a good shoot.
This one from Big League Drew says, was the officer's use of OC spray justified the way it was used? Was the pistol whipping also justified?
Did they pistol whip, or was it with the spray can? I don't think anybody unholstered their weapon until there was a weapon.
I think it was just the spray can, but I mean, it's similar concept.
But I do think you see this all the time. Cops, when they're detaining people, they will literally punch you in the face to get you to stop resisting.
No, you don't see that all the time. I just don't know if you don't watch a lot of cop videos, but that's not typically something you see. No.
Okay.
Basil Problem, your pal Wi-Fi, says, Bluetooth Bible, you are a, quote, Baghdad Bob level propagandist. I don't know what that means. Big League Drew says, an officer receiving a call is heresy and people make false reports. Your example sucks.
Well, but, oh God, this is a touchy subject. If somebody called a SWAT team on somebody and they entered their house, they have legal right to enter it based on the call. And obviously there's tons of situations that are awfully tragic because of that. But they have to take those calls seriously.
This one from Tyler S. says, so why didn't anything happen to Rittenhouse carrying an AR across state lines? See hypocrisy. Just being armed doesn't automatically make you a threat.
Well, I would say that if he was then resisting officers, then he would be a threat.
Big League Drew says, I had someone pull a gun on me in traffic, and when I called, they just asked me what I did to make them pull a gun. True story. Explain.
That's crazy. No, I think obviously every police department is different. If you live in some parts of Chicago and you call the cops, they'll say they come, but they're not coming.
Reek Archaeology says, do people online know you have a girl's name? Big League Drew says, have either of you ever been on a ride along with a Leo? Like the astrology sign? This one from
law enforcement officer.
Thank you. Batman Inc. says, I don't get out much. Batman Inc. says, Pretti was also part of the Signal group chat operated by admins of Tim, quote, retard Waltz, tracking, doxing, impeding investigations, and attacking feds. She was with him, blocking traffic, being arrested.
But it doesn't look like she was being arrested. The cop just shoves her to the ground because he's mad at her. That's just pretty obvious from watching it. She wasn't being detained at all. Cop could have detained her if he wanted to. He didn't want to. He was just mad as fuck, and he shoved her to the ground. Just like why he pepper sprayed the dude, because he was mad at him as well.
You got it. This one from Bless My Vibe Co. says, I voted Trump, but not on a board with this big government stuff. It's hyper authoritarian. This is what the founders warned of. It's dangerous because it gives unconditional excuses for big federal government over we the people. Government will weaponize law.
I think there could be a real threat of that. It's hard to say when that happens, when it doesn't.
Basil Problem says Wi-Fi. I look forward to the modern day debate here about whether it was justified when ICE deports you to CECOT. Is that, am I saying it right? CECOT. You do have Hispanic sounding name. Okay, that's weird. Big League Drew says,
I get that a lot, actually.
you
when I
want to
talk
respond,
about
you can.
immigration.
Big League Drew says, do either of you carry a firearm? To Alex, are you even do you respect the Second Amendment?
I think we both do. I think I've heard Destiny say that he's been even pulled over in situations where he's had his firearm.
Steven's always packing.
Yeah, no, I encourage everybody to. It's just you do put yourself in precarious positions when you carry.
Basil Problem. Did you want to respond to that, Steven? If you want, you can.
I personally don't think you should be killed for practicing your Second Amendment right in the United States. I don't think cops have a reason to beat you for no reason.
Basil Problem says, Wi-Fi, did you use GPT or Claude to do your legal research for you? And Manar Fanatic, oh, Wi-Fi, is it? Manar Fanatic says, Destiny, if you're looking for a real debate, come debate Manar reports and unblock him on Discord. He would debate you on U.S. policies, Gaza, or January 6th. I think that's Manar's sock account. Okay, Big Lee Drew says, any government actor is bad. Change my mind.
I mean, that's wild.
Now, I mentioned they do ask about food. Chef Secret Sauce Nasty. Good one for you, Steven. You like the pizzas. Could you please tell me your favorite pizza? Mine's still pepperoni. He asks every night. What are your guys' favorite pizzas?
Honey mustard chicken.
Nice.
I just like the
But you don't.
ones with all the meats and vegetables on it.
Really?
Did you make a face? You don't like the honey mustard chicken?
Fuck no.
Oh man.
Big League Drew says, I see job XC. You say I'm a brainless anarchist. I consider myself a sovereign person. You and I will never be the same. You are a clueless slave. Let me know how leather boots taste. Is that for someone else in chat? And Balance Elemental says, would you pay? I would pay to see Destiny versus Manar reports. Okay, Manar, for real. Big League Drew says, Alex, how would you feel if you don't have breakfast today?
Well, I would probably be hungry.
Balance Elemental says, when will we see Destiny back on RuneScape again? What's RuneScape, Steven? Is this
Video
like that
game.
Sonic inflation?
Not quite, no.
Okay. This one from Big League Drew. Alex,
Do we
what
think, wait, I'm curious, how do we feel about the Trump administration, people making comments about the guy, calling him a domestic terrorist, saying he approached cops with his firearms? Do you think that Noam Christie should step down for making those comments?
Now, I don't know if she should step down for making those comments, but obviously those are wild comments to make. I don't think it helps the situation at all. And
When we say
I
wild,
definitely
just to be
don't
clear,
think-
those were bold-faced lies. They were completely and totally not true, and I haven't heard her walk any of those back.
Yeah, I don't agree with them at all. What did Trump say? Trump said something stupid too.
Probably, but why shouldn't Noam Christie, if she's openly lying to the American public about an officer-involved shooting that involved the killing of an American citizen, and she's lying blatantly about the facts of the case, why shouldn't she step down for
Well,
that?
is calling him a domestic terrorist lying about the facts of the case? What
Well,
else
she
did
didn't
say?
know
What
anything
was-
about it, and she also said he approached officers with his gun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you gave a charitable interpretation, you could just say that he approached him while he was carrying.
That's
but
not a
obviously
charitable
he did not.
interpretation. That would be an untrue interpretation, right?
I mean, I could see how someone could give her a charitable interpretation like that.
No, you couldn't. No. If
yes,
somebody says he approached him with a gun, we're never assuming it was a concealed carry gun that wasn't out that the officer wasn't aware of. That's not what that means.
My first assumption would be that he approached with a gun out. Yeah.
And everybody's a reasonable assumption would be that, right? So she was lying when she said that. Calling him a
you could
domestic
make-
terrorist doesn't seem to be, I don't know where we have any proof of that anywhere, right? That's not,
Yeah, I
Okay,
don't
so
think
assaulting officers
Noam
is not
or
true.
Trump helped with their statements at all.
it's not about helping. She should step down, right? Why would she not step
Over-
down for that?
I'm not sure. Maybe you could make a case that she would.
I am making the case that she should. Why do you think she shouldn't? You think that she should lie about an officer-involved shooting, a killing of an American citizen, practicing a Second Amendment right, that she should remain in office after telling that many lies in a row about it and not walking anyone back?
Yeah, like I said, I think you can give her a charitable interpretation in some areas.
This one from
What about him calling him a domestic terrorist? There's a charitable interpretation on that?
Yeah, because I do think that people purposefully impeding in organized groups on ICE and CBP definitely tend towards the line of domestic terrorism.
But she didn't know that at the time. Or you think
I
simply
mean, this is
obstructing
what
any
people
officer?
are doing.
I'm not asking what people are doing. She made a specific comment. She made a specific comment about a shooting. She called him a domestic terrorist. She said he approached him with his weapon. She said that, I think she might have used the word brandish even. These are not true statements.
I would like to know the exact statement.
You guys want to keep going on that one, or do you want to go to the next question?
You can go to the next question. I'll try to find the... Oh, her statement about him going there with the intention to massacre people. That was something she said, right?
I would like to see exactly. I did see something like that.
So she said massacre and dozens of bullets.
I would like to know the exact thing, because I don't want to guess.
Okay, I'll find it.
Yeah, I'm trying to too. Sorry.
Big League Drew said, so when did y'all become use of force experts? Because both of you sound kind of dumb, although I agree with Destiny's conclusion. Okay. Cool. Sorry about these. Big League Drew says, Alex, what do you think the result would have been if that single officer never went over and shoved two ladies and OC'd Alex?
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't detain or try to detain Alex Pretti, then yeah, he probably wouldn't have gotten shot.
This one from Big League Drew says, what are your thoughts of Kristi Noem's description of what happened? What are your thoughts about Donald Trump calling him a terrorist?
I think Donald Trump said something other than that was stupid. Again, I already said the domestic terrorism stuff, but he said something. What else? What did he say? Did you find Noem yet?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to?
So this is what she said. She said, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. The suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds. He also had no ID. This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Yeah, I think, like I said, some areas of that can be given a charitable interpretation. Like even the last part, she didn't say he came there.
So when she said an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, you think that's a fair statement?
And what is this? Something that she spoke, or that she?
This is something she spoke. She's giving a presser. This is on January 24th, so 3 days ago. So it's she's reading a statement.
Yeah, I think it would be responsible for her to walk back some of those statements, whether she meant them in a certain way or not.
So when they say the officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently, do you think that's a fair characterization of what happened?
In the last few seconds, yes.
At what point what behavior of his would you characterize as violent?
Resisting arrest.
At what behavior was violent?
Him struggling with officers is inherently violent.
Struggling is always violent. Okay. So if I were to come up behind somebody and I were to try to choke them and they were trying to struggle away from me, would you consider their behavior violent? You would characterize their behavior.
They're meeting violence with violence.
Do you think
you are both in a violent altercation?
Being in a violent altercation is because one person has made it violent, not because the other person is responding with violence. I don't think most people consider struggle as violence.
You can't struggle violently?
You could struggle violently. I didn't say you can't struggle violently. I decided that not everybody...
What does a non-violent struggle look like?
Just trying to escape from somebody or get away from somebody, where you're not striking them or hitting them or attacking them. I think most people wouldn't characterize that as violent.
I think violently resisting an officer or struggling with an officer, because you don't have any duty to be detained by a citizen.
Nobody said that. I'm just saying you wouldn't characterize it as violent if a person is trying to escape from somebody.
I would.
If somebody sat on somebody and that person was trying to get away, they were trying to crawl away and maybe roll the person off of them, would you say that that person is acting violently?
Yes, if I push you, that's violence, right? So if you're on top of me and I push you, that's violence. It's a very low level of violence, but it is violence.
By trying to get up on your hands and knees with the other person sitting on you, that's a violent action.
Yes, you're trying to push them off of you.
Okay. In the video that we watched, there's not a single point where Pretti is pushing an officer, hitting an officer, shoving an officer.
He's resisting them.
I understand that, but there's not a single point where he's pushing an officer, hitting an officer, striking an officer. That's never happening, right?
What's the lowest level of violence you could think of?
Some type of forceful, probably just some type of forceful contact, I guess.
Right. Was he making any sort of forceful contact with officers?
Not really, just in response to them, like
All right,
trying to
so
like
he was being
escape them.
violent in response to their detention.
I don't know if I would say that. If I punched somebody in the face, I wouldn't say that their face inflicted violence on my fist. I don't think I would use that phraseology. I don't
I
think you
wouldn't
would
agree
use.
there either.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I was holding somebody and they were trying to squirm away from me, I wouldn't say they were being violent while I was holding on to them. I would say I was being violent and they're trying to escape. I think that's what everybody would describe that as.
So what were they using to escape? They weren't using violence?
No, it doesn't seem like. I don't see any violence. They're just trying to crawl
they weren't
away.
using forcible contact to escape?
I don't see that. Do you see that? If somebody's trying to hold your
shaking up
arm out,
against somebody,
that's violent to you?
yes, it's violence.
Okay. I don't think you believe that, but
This one from, do appreciate your question. Big League Drew says, someone did die from the
wait,
one...
also, hold on. Also, this statement, the officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. This doesn't even make it sound like he's trying to not be arrested. It sounds like they're trying to take his 9mm semi-automatic handgun away from him, and then he's reacting violently.
Again, I think she's not being careful at all with her language here, and she should walk back some of it. But
She's lying.
Interpretation.
There is no charitable interpretation. Nobody's going to hear that way.
They did try to disarm him. They successfully disarmed him, and he did react in a violent way.
But nobody's going to hear that way.
Okay, but
wait. I'm curious. Let's say that you and I had to put money on this. Let's say that we get 100 people in a room, and I describe to 100 people. Here's a scenario that I'm describing to you. An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. If I were to describe that situation to 1,000 people, what percentage of them, how many of them would describe what actually happened?
Not a large percentage, I would agree there.
My guess would be 0.
Okay. I don't know.
So
There's a game where
something, and if 0 people would accurately describe it, wouldn't we say that she's lying? If nobody's understanding what you said, what's the point of spoken word at that point?
No, I don't think you could speak of any engagement in the way that, in as short as Chrissy Nome did, and have a bunch of people describe exactly the situation back to you.
Really?
Yeah.
If I were to say a man intervened between an officer that was attempting to detain a woman, in the course of the officer then attempting to detain the man, officers discovered a weapon, disarmed him, were unaware that he was disarmed, and fired on the man and killed him. Mm-hmm. Do you think that I think my explanation, might have been shorter than hers. Do you think that would get out of 1,000 people, at least half of them to describe what happened correctly?
Probably not half, but I would say it's clearer.
They would get the gist of it. Maybe not exactly what's happened, but they would get the gist of what's happened.
But then once you know what happened and you look at Christy Nome's statement, you can still see flaws and she's not clear, but there are elements in which you say, okay, I can see why she said that. You can't give her any charity at all and see that.
It's not about charity, dude.
Yes, it is. You're trying to misunderstand her as much as you can to make the point.
If you said you mentioned having a kid, hold on. If your wife asked you, were you hanging out with a girl last night? And you were hanging out with a girl at 12:01 a.m. and you said no. And then later on, she felt like you lied. You were with this girl past midnight. We say, no. That's the next morning. It's not last night. It's the next day. Do you think that's a fair and accurate thing? Do you think you can apply charity there and that you've understood what's being said?
No, because what she was asking, that would be lying because what she was asking.
Yes, and in this case, but in this case where she's saying an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun, already in our mind we're thinking, okay, he probably has it out. Maybe not, but it sounds like he does. And then the next sentence is, the officers attempted to disarm this individual. Okay, well, they're trying to take it from him because they've seen the gun, obviously. But the armed suspect reacted violently. What was he doing? Shooting at them? Well, I'm not sure. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. So he must have been shooting or kicking him or hitting or threatening to take the gun out or something, right? None of what she's saying here is conveying an accurate picture. There is no level of charitability to apply here. She's just lying.
No, it would be like if you said, someone approached me with methamphetamine. Does that mean they have it out in their hand and they're trying to give it to me?
That would be my assumption, yes.
Really?
Somebody approached me with meth means somebody's trying to sell you meth. You think if they have it in their pocket?
If a person was making a press conference and they approach you, and first of all, yes, people don't just have meth in there and be like, hey, yo, you want some? It's usually a verbal thing at first.
Yeah, that would be the assumption. They're approaching to sell something. He approached me with meth.
Right, but if it said someone said he approached officers with methamphetamines, that doesn't necessarily mean he had them out or obvious to officers. It's that he approached them and he had them on his person.
But then you would say that.
You could interpret it that way. No.
No,
well,
you would
if you're-
clarify because language
you're
matters,
holding
because
her-
words matter, and you're not on a time limit. You would just clearly state that. He had methamphetamine on his person,
so
in his pocket. You would just say that.
All right, so Christy Nome wasn't as clear as she should have been. I think
That's her
it's
job.
reasonable. Okay.
It's not reasonable. Her job is to communicate to the public. She
I was gonna say, I
communicated
think
it totally.
It's reasonable for her to walk back some of the things she said.
So if
but
she
I
doesn't
don't
walk
know
it
if
back,
it's-
should she step down?
I don't know if that's a reasonable course of action. No,
What would the reasonable course of action be?
I'm not sure.
So nothing.
I mean, she
She didn't
wasn't
miss anything.
clear
It was a
enough.
written statement.
wasn't
This was a
clear
written
enough
statement that she was
at-
reading
yeah.
from. She's lying. She's misleading. She's not just being unclear. If she was being unclear, then maybe she would say different things in different contexts, whatever. All of her language is pointing in one direction, though.
I do think that she was using colorful language to make the situation appear in the favor of those in the administration. But that was also before the public had the facts, I think.
When she worded it this way, do you think she was doing it because she was just picking random words, or do you think she was intentionally trying to mislead the public's perception?
I don't know if we can come to the conclusion that she intentionally was lying to the public.
So
I
she
think
accidentally
it
misphrased
very
this
well
in such
could
a
have
way
been.
that it was completely deferential to the officers and was completely in favor of what happened with the officers and completely besmirched and attacked the guy in a maximal way. That happened randomly by chance.
No, I'm saying it definitely couldn't have happened randomly. That's poisoning the well. It could have happened simply by her not being clear enough. Now, what are the odds of that? Was it her not being clear? Was it her intentionally lying? I think if it was her intentionally lying, yeah, she should step down. But I don't know.
When she says the suspect also had 2 magazines with ammunition in them that held dozens of rounds, this looks like a situation where an individual arrived at the scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
Yeah, is that a wrong interpretation?
There's nothing that's in the
like...
sequence of. Yes, that's incorrect. It doesn't look like that at all. I don't see that at all.
Okay. All right. So then you see it differently than Chrissy Nome. Is it so wild that this thing could have happened or it could have been this way that she's completely lying to make her side look better?
She is completely lying to make her side look better. Yes. There are people that I could understand make a statement like that.
I believe that you believe
SJWs in
that.
2016. People that show up with guns must want to kill people. All of you guys that defended Rittenhouse didn't seem to have this opinion before. I didn't have this opinion before.
That's the really stupid thing Trump said. I have no idea why.
No,
he said
we're talking about Christy Nome's statement right now.
I know, but you just jogged my memory. Remember, he said, if you're carrying guns in our streets, you're a criminal or something retarded like that.
Well, but I mean, that's not that far off of your position. You think that if you're
what?
If an officer interprets you as obstructing his own arrest, if you have a gun on you, or the officer thinks you do, the officer can execute you. That's not that far from your position.
No, it's very far.
We might-
Obviously, there were
we
literally
do
tons of
have
people
so many
doing this
questions.
all day.
Okay.
This one from Big League Drew says, someone did die from the one chip challenge. What's your point?
I'm not sure who that was for, but
Big League Drew says, OC doesn't
the one
work.
chip is no joke.
Says OC doesn't work once on some people. You can still shoot a gun with proper barb placement from a taser. My sister is a detective and they did it in training. I think that's, you down with that, Alex?
Yeah, I agree. That was my point.
Steven,
I think
down
it's
with that as well?
towards destiny.
Well, I don't even know what the statement was. What was it?
They said OC doesn't work on some people. You can still shoot a gun with proper barb placement from a taser. Basically, they said my sister is a detective and they did it in training.
The barb placement is supposed to lock your muscles up. I don't believe that's possible, but that's my understanding.
Big Lee Drew also said he didn't reach for a gun. You can see both of his hands. It looks like he was confused and trying to protect his head. You have blatantly lied about what happened.
I mean, on the video, what I could see, and again, we don't have all of the videos. I do want to see, who knows, sometimes these videos don't go public. They just go to trial. But I would like to see the body cam footage, and I think that would help clear things up.
This round, Big Lee Drew says, explain how you could fear for your life if someone isn't holding any weapon and is face down on the pavement.
You can, if somebody, like this exact situation, if somebody was known to be armed at one point and then makes a furtive movement toward their waist, that is textbook justified use of force.
He said, brother, Regular LEO get like 6 months in the academy and spend like 3 to 5 days on one subject, then think they're experts in everything. It's a joke.
I'm sure there are some officers like that. Yeah.
Robin Webster says 2A citizen with legal gun is not a threat.
That's not true. I gave the court case. I could bring it up again, but the fact that you have the firearm on you puts you in a different risk category.
You got it.
It's the same thing. I was talking to an officer, and they were saying that when they perform stops, like if they just perform a regular traffic stop, they're not just going to have their firearm out. But when they perform what he called a felony stop, which is obviously a more risky situation, he will stop the person. He will pull up to the scene with his pistol drawn.
This one from Hell's Pacifist says, if he's been pepper sprayed, he's blind. Pretti didn't know what he was reaching for.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Just real quick, that last response had nothing to do. Felony stop means that the perpetrator's already shown that he has a reckless disregard for the law or is willing to commit felonious actions. You have a reason to have a firearm. That has nothing to do with them having a gun or not. You can pull somebody over for an ordinary traffic stop and they have a gun, and you're not approaching their pistol pulled. Okay.
Totally. I think you said something. I watched a video you did, I think, the other night on Brad Palumbo's channel where you said that. And I totally agree. Just because you have a firearm on you doesn't mean they can pull out their pistol. But it was, especially in this case, it was the resisting arrest and having a legal firearm on him that allowed them to draw their pistols.
This one from, do appreciate your question as well. Logan Misiak says, Charlie Kirk was murdered. The young children killed in the Minnesota church shooting were murdered. This individual was wrestling officers with a gun. If you want to respond, you can, Stephen.
Sorry, say that again?
They said Charlie Kirk was murdered. The young children killed in the Minnesota church shooting were murdered. This individual was wrestling officers with a gun.
That guy must have gotten his ass kicked in every wrestling match he's in if wrestling to him is squirming around the ground while everyone else is fucking your shit up. But I don't know. Maybe he just got last place every meet.
Beyonce had one of the best something, says, please ask if this rotund specimen is or has ever applied to be an ICE agent. Thanks for hosting this. Okay.
I got a bad back. Can't do it.
Big League Drew says there is no video of furtive gestures, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'll find the video that's not slowed down, and I'll post the slowed down one on my ex, Alexxander Medei. Can't fit the rest of my name.
You got it. This one from Big League Drew says, Greek archaeologist says, Destiny Milo rematch, please. He needs relevance. Hell's Pacifist. What do you say, Steven? You and Milo for old time's sake?
Fuck no.
Wow. Hell's Pacifist says all he had to do is go limp. They're quoting you. They say, hide your loved ones from people who think like this. Pepper sprayed, but just totally rational and zen? Question mark. Come on.
I don't think you have to be totally rational and zen to simply allow 4 men to detain you.
Upsetty Spaghetti says, Destiny. Okay, it's just an insult. Okay. Alejandro Vallejo says, we already knew pre-suppers are the flat earthers of philosophy. Now Wi-Fi Gospel is confirming he's the legal equivalent of a flat earther too. All right. Big League Drew says, instead of sitting in a fake library, why don't you read a real book? You're okay. Let's see. Big League Drew says you don't need to be. You can respond to these. Just interrupt if you want to respond to the smack talk. They say you don't need to be certain they have a weapon, but they need to be in reasonable fear of their life or others, and I don't think that can be articulated.
Yeah, I think it's the resisting arrest paired with being armed, and then the furtive movement. Keep wanting to say moment.
Bob Celeste says, can I get a where was the reach in chat? LMAO. Big League Drew says, these people wanted a golden age so bad, so they refused to see Trump as a major L. Pathetic. I think they're accusing you of having Trump devotion syndrome.
Trump devotion syndrome. I just called him a retard for what he said. I can't count, right?
Chick M says, the typical way to arrest someone on the ground is to bring someone's hands behind their back. Couldn't it be possible?
Wait, hold on. When somebody says Trump devotion syndrome, you guys always do this little trick where you'll criticize Trump on some irrelevant shit, but you wouldn't have a single criticism of any major policy move or any major White House move that Trump has made over the past year, right?
Over the past year, in the other direction of his enforcement, laying off, I think he just retracted the arrest warrants for the people who violated the FACE Act in the Minnesota church. I don't think that he's pulling out of Minnesota. Apparently, him and Tim Walz have come to a deal. I don't think that deal is going to turn out well. I don't know. There's definitely things I disagree with.
This one from Chick M says the typical way to arrest someone on the ground is to bring someone's hands behind their back. Couldn't it be possible that Pretti was trying his best to keep his hands away from his back to avoid being shot?
No, and in that situation, they would actually take your hands and put them behind your head, and then they would cuff you, and then they would put your hands behind your back.
This one from Basil Problem says, Bluetooth Gospel, other than watching body cam videos on YouTube, where did you develop your expertise in law enforcement tactics?
Yeah, I don't think either me and Destiny are experts.
Watched a lot of cop stop videos. I've never in my life seen an officer holding somebody put hands behind their head.
What do you put the hands behind your head, you cuff one, you put it behind your back, and then you take the other one, put them back, and you finish the cuff. That's proper and normal procedure.
Sure, but you wouldn't. They wouldn't put both of them behind the head initially. Like if the guy went to put, like in this case, if the guy went to put his arms behind his back because he thought he was complying, in your world, they would still be authorized to shoot him.
Well, it depends what commands they were giving him. Were they telling him to put his hands behind his back, or were they telling him to?
Were they telling him to put his hands on his head?
I don't know. Well, we'd have to review.
So in your world, if he went to put his hands behind his back, you would count that as a furtive movement, and because he had a firearm on him, you could kill him, right?
It could be considered a furtive movement, yeah.
This one from, do appreciate it. Basil Problem says, we got that one. Big League Drew says, is it okay to change your mind on this, Alex? It is okay to change your mind. We will accept you, Alex.
I think this isn't as clear-cut as the Renee Good situation, and I think that reviewing body cam footage will obviously help in this situation. And I know there's an investigation on both Renee Good and the Alex Pretti situation. I don't know if they're allowing the state to come into the Alex Pretti situation or not. And I think even, again, this deal with Tim Walz, like I don't know exactly what's public. What I basically read was that may be part of the deal, is that Minnesota's allowed to come in on the investigation, but I'm not sure. I could have misread that.
This one from Duck Nobby says, Destiny sounds like a homosexual talking version of a little wind-up toy.
Based.
I'm trying to imagine that. Petromandius, thanks for your question, says, if this was murder, it was Waltz and Flanagan who murdered him. They are guilty of seditious conspiracy with a felony murder enhancement.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could really make that case.
Shizu Hiwima says, question for Destiny. Do you believe ICE agents need to be afraid to keep them in line, similar to your arguments about conservatives needing to fear for their lives during the last election?
Absolutely. I would go and I would quote every single conservative and libertarian that proudly had the "Don't Tread on Me" flags and that they believed in the Second Amendment and were constantly quoting that the tree of liberty constantly needs to be refreshed with the blood of patriots thing. All of our public officials should have a healthy fear of the population such that they don't feel like they could murder us with impunity and nothing bad would happen. I support people open carrying. I support people organizing their communities. I don't think there should ever be a case in the United States where officers feel like they can go into a neighborhood and start murdering its citizens with no recourse.
This
I
one
don't think
from
any officer thinks that.
Well, you do. I mean,
Jordan Lofgren says,
That's kind of bad faith.
well, you seem to think that if a guy gets in front of a cop, the cop has the authority to begin pepper spraying him and then tackle him. And then if the guy's on the ground and he can't orient himself quick enough, he could be executed if he's a Second Amendment practitioner. So that's your position.
Yeah, if he's armed and resisting officers, yeah, I think that could be justified use of force. I don't see how that means that I think cops can just go and murder people in neighborhoods, though.
Okay. I mean, if a cop walks up and shoves a lady to the ground and a decent man sees that happening and was like, hey, don't do that, and stands in front of the cop, at that point,
what's the context of this situation?
Looks like the cop's just pissed off. You can't articulate to me an investigation that the cop is performing, can you?
The DHS said they were doing it. They literally have 3,000 federal agents consistently doing these operations.
Did 3,000 federal agents push her to the ground, or was it one federal agent? It looked like one federal agent.
the reason that those federal agents are there, I guarantee you those federal agents don't live there. They're there to work.
But he
They
wasn't
were
performing an
working
investigation. I didn't
Even
see
if
him
he
doing
wasn't
one.
performing a specific investigation, as long as he was driving government property and patrolling, that would exactly be federal duty.
Yeah, to arrest her maybe, but not to shove her or push her to the ground.
Yes, to shove her and push her when she doesn't listen to commands to lawfully disperse.
Yeah, that's not how that works. There's a reason why you have no case law that backs you up here on this.
Jordan Lofgren says, Destiny, debate Jay Dyer. Every debate you have is pointless under your own stupid worldview. Debate Jay. This one from Chick M says, Pretti never moves his hands toward his waist before he was shot. Listen to the audio. There was no misfire from Pretti's firearm. The officer in the black beanie shot Pretti.
Yeah, and that's why I said there is one video that shows what could be the slide movement. And the only reason, because the first time I saw the video, I was like, I don't know, that's a stretch. But then the specific type of gun, I actually remember when it was being talked about several months ago, maybe a year ago, where this specific gun was giving people a lot of problems in the misfiring department. So that's when I started to take the theory a little bit more seriously, and I just added it in. It could be the case, could not be. Based on the last report, I don't think it was, because they didn't mention it. It seemed like it would be a big fact to mention. But
you got it. In Their Shoes Apologetics says, Alex, how can you say probability doesn't matter in this case when the debate itself is an evaluation of probabilities? Destiny asked the right questions.
I forget exactly the context in which we were speaking. Do you remember, Destiny?
You have to probabilistically assess the likelihood of this guy being violent against you. You can't just assume every single person has 2 guns and kill them.
Well, I would say that just because it's not that probability doesn't matter, but just because it's a low probability, because the risk is life or death, that means you should assume that the person is not completely disarmed unless you have searched and seized all the weapons on them.
This one?
No, but it's just the idea that like you would weigh the probability of being in danger based on the totality of the circumstances.
It's kind of like in epistemology when you would grant something as knowledge or not knowledge based on the weight of the thing. So it's like if you were to sit on a chair on the edge of Mount Everest, how much would you have to trust that chair in order to know that you'll be safe? Versus just a chair that you sit down in your computer room there, you're obviously just going to trust that chair. When you're on the side of Mount Everest, you're going to look at that chair and you're going to investigate that chair and test it out a bit before you actually sit on the side of a mountain that you could fall to your death if the chair breaks or doesn't hold you. So in a situation where even though the probability is low, you have to weigh it very heavily because the risk of being wrong is life or death.
Let's say that you were carrying out an arrest warrant for a guy that you have probable cause to assume that this guy killed another person with a pistol, we'll say with an AR-15. Let's say that officers pull up and they see this guy walking outside of a building and there is a guy next to him. And then let's say that the guy that you're pulled up to arrest, let's say that he reveals that he had in front of him, he's got an AR-15, and he turns and he aims at this guy to go to shoot the dude. Do you think officers would have a right to shoot and kill the guy aiming the AR-15?
Yeah.
What if you were outside of an airsoft arena? Would that change the calculation whatsoever, or would you still shoot and kill him?
No, yeah, that would change.
That's my whole point.
What do you mean? Explain.
As in the totality of the circumstances leading up to, he could still have an AR-15 and really truly kill the guy, right? You said the 1%. It could be a real gun, but the totality of the circumstances leading to when you enact your violent force, you're going to consider where you are, what the circumstances leading up to an event are. If that Alex Pretti guy had been fighting and brawling with officers and had been talking shit, like he was being violent or whatever, and then the same situation plays out, I'm a lot more sympathetic to the officers for why they would be on edge for this guy, resisting. They said they were going to arrest him or whatever. That would heavily factor into the officer thinking this guy's ready to fight and maybe die. But if the guy got pushed, pepper sprayed, tackled in like 5 seconds, and then he's getting the shit beat out of him, and then like 5 officers are all of a sudden on him, I'm not thinking and the calculation for a reasonable officer is not as much. Well, this guy's a fucking murderer. He's probably just a dude who's getting the shit beat out of him. He's like struggling on the ground.
Here's the misstep in your analogy, your hypothetical. You asked me if it was an airsoft place. Does the cop know that?
Yeah, we'll say he does. Just like the
All right,
cop here
if
knows
he
that
knows
Pretti's not
that-
fighting with the dude. He's not fighting with the guy. He doesn't
doesn't
talk shit.
know
He's not
that.
making threat. The officer knows whether he's been in a fight with
resisting
Pretti, of
arrest
course.
and he's armed.
After he's been tackled, after he's been, you've left the world of induction and now you've gone to deduction or whatever. No, he doesn't
not
know
only
100%.
doesn't he know the
You've
intention.
abandoned the argument.
No,
You've
it's not
abandoned the argument.
100%.
It wasn't about
It's
if he
not
knew it.
100%.
It was an induction question.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Not only does he not know the intentions, the courts don't hold him to the standard of trying to guess his intentions.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
What do you think a reasonable officer standard is? What do you think they're trying to assess?
Yes. An officer doesn't need to know the intent of somebody reaching for their waistband. They just
they have to assess it, like what a reasonable officer would think.
Okay, well, yes, in a situation where they're reaching for their waistband, a reasonable officer would think they could be grabbing a weapon, so I can fire.
It depends on what's leading up to that. If a cop walks up to me and the cop says, "Give me your fucking ID," and I reach down to my pocket and then I hand him my wallet, as opposed to a cop getting a call saying there was a dude walking around, describing me, 6'5", blue eyes, perfect hair, and they say, "This guy we think has a gun," and an officer walks up to me like, "Hey," and then I turn around and reach for my pocket. Even if I am pulling out my wallet, right? There's a different set of circumstances leading to both of these events.
In the first one, my argument for me.
How?
The cop knew he was armed.
No, that's already by the time he's tackled and resisting quote unquote
before
arrest.
the use of force. And it doesn't matter. We
No.
about the provocation
They're
doctrine.
already fighting him. Stop bringing up provocation doctrine. Whatever ChatGPT told you doesn't apply here. No, it doesn't apply here. The Barnes v. Felix, the 2024 case is the most recent reading that I've done on this. Your use of force is like a case from like the 90s or something, or the 80s. That's not related to this at all, right? And the Barnes v. Felix case,
you're talking
the
about
Supreme
totality
Court,
of circumstances.
yes, and the totality of circumstances would have to do with what leads up to the violent interaction.
But based on the provocation doctrine, it excludes prior Fourth Amendment violations.
We're not talking about provocation doctrine. If you're talking about, the thing that the Fifth Circuit talked about was the moment of threat analysis. If that's what this provocation doctrine is, the Supreme Court explicitly ruled that, and they tossed that moment of threat analysis. Okay, well, this provocation doctrine, it has nothing to do with this. I've already spoken to this. It doesn't.
No,
it's not relevant here.
I've asked you specifically if spraying with pepper spray is only justified under the Fourth Amendment, and you agreed.
I don't know. I don't even know if that applies here. It doesn't
what
matter.
allows somebody to use force? What allows an officer to use force in the Constitution?
To use force is if he's trying to detain somebody and they're resisting arrest.
Yeah, which amendment?
I don't know. Is this unwarranted search and seizure?
Amendment.
I guess. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know how this. Do you think this is factoring in here?
Because if is an unjustified use of force breaking the Fourth Amendment?
An unjustified use of force, probably, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So if the pepper spray was an unjustified use of force, that is you're breaking the Fourth Amendment. So the provocation doctrine says just because you break the Fourth Amendment and then there's a use of force that's separate from that event, it doesn't mean that use of force can be thrown out just because of the event.
I'm not throwing it out just because of that. It would just play into
You're saying the events leading up to it.
Yes, the events leading up to it, but I'm not saying because it was justified or unjustified. Your brain is locked on this. I'm not saying just because it was justified or unjustified. I'm saying that it would factor into how you would evaluate the resistance of the person up to that point.
And that's what the provocation doctrine says, and the provocation doctrine was shut down in 2017.
That's not what that is, and that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
You got it. This one from Red Boomer says Destiny has to debate the debate king manner. Okay. Where's Worm? And DVI'd says Alexxander was the only one reaching here in their shoes. We got that one. Type 35.
I'm curious. Does the guy even touch the officer before the officer decides to tackle him and everything and pepper spray him?
It literally doesn't matter because you're talking about an unlawful seizure at that point is what you're trying to get at.
No, I'm saying the officer is literally like pepper spraying the dude. The dude doesn't even touch the officer. Why is the officer pepper spraying the guy?
He perceived it as an aggressive motion towards him, and he was trying. Maybe he was trying to go after the lady. Maybe he was going to push her. And
I just want to
don't know.
James, play this for me, okay? I just want to hear you say this. The guy, a reasonable officer, would
literally doesn't matter.
No, the reasonable officer standard. I'm just. You think that he is that the reasonable officer perceives him to be a threat?
I want to talk after we do. Obviously, we can play whatever you want and still talk, but I want to talk after this. We get more information about this, even if I just come on your stream for a few minutes or talk privately, but I guarantee you this is going to come up if there's a trial, and I would love to see the ruling on this based on the moments leading up to and the Fourth Amendment violations.
Okay,
But go ahead. There was something you wanted to play.
almost got it. I'm just cropping. And
Whoa!
Right, you're playing this up on your stream. I just in looking at this video, before the officer starts pepper spraying him, what is the reason? Well, I think you have to open it yourself. I don't even think Pretti touches the officer. If anything, he just has his hand up because the officer's already pepper spraying him for no reason.
Where is this in this video?
Like, the officer's not trying to even detain or arrest. The officer's just mad. I don't know why you can't even just admit that. The officer's just pissed off. He's just taking out his rage. He shoves the woman to the ground for no reason. Yeah, but he's not mad and trying to detain somebody. It is what happened. He's just mad. He's pissed off. He shoves the lady. He doesn't even try to detain her. He's got his pepper spray. He starts spraying the dude.
Even if what he did was unlawful, it has nothing to do
I'm not saying about that. I'm just saying that the start of this, well, it kind of does, but
it doesn't.
Okay.
this one,
Even if what he did was a Fourth Amendment violation, previous Fourth Amendment
You're quoting a
violations-
sentence that you don't understand.
Okay.
You just keep quoting the same
All right.
sentence at me. You just don't understand what you're reading or what you're saying.
I don't think you understand the provocation.
I
You didn't
understand
even
it
know about the
perfectly.
provocation doctrine. You're like, what is this? It has nothing to do with
No,
this.
because I try to stay with current law. I don't know any prior law to that. I just stay with what's current.
It was something
Your
that got shut
misunderstanding
down in
you seem to believe-
2017.
I've already
6 years ago.
I'm not
or
talking about
10, 9
provocation doctrine.
years
I'm
ago.
talking about Felix v. Barnes, which is the most recent case of this, which was just a year ago. It's a 17-page ruling with you 10 minutes to read. You're getting mixed up because you think that I'm saying that just because the officer broke the law means that the guy was justified or the officer didn't have a right to defend himself afterwards. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
what
you're
I'm saying
it
is that
takes away from the fact.
I'm saying that his actions would factor into whether or not he thought the guy was a threat. Whether they were breaking the law or not is not relevant. I'm just saying that they would factor into whether or not that guy is a threat. That's it. It doesn't matter if they're legal. It doesn't matter if they're not legal. I'm not provocation doctrine.
He was a threat, right?
No, he wasn't. I don't think a reasonable officer would
Okay, so
assume
then these are two different arguments.
Okay. They're not, but
Yes, you're making two completely different arguments.
not.
You're saying,
I'm not.
Okay, he was never having a use of force. He was never a threat, right? You're saying he was never a threat,
Pretti, I don't believe a reasonable officer would think he's a threat, no.
right? And then you're saying the officer put him into a circumstance in which he was a threat.
No, I don't think he was a threat ever. At what point was he a
Those are
threat?
two different arguments. That's what I'm saying.
When is he threatening the officers? Or what is the threat
All right,
part?
so then the officer didn't put himself in a situation in which Pretti was a threat.
Correct.
Okay.
He didn't, because Pretti was
Thank
never
you.
a threat.
That's a
welcome.
contradiction.
What am I contradicting?
There's a threat and there's no threat.
My position from the very beginning is that there's no threat. That's why the shoot was unjustified. If there's a threat, then the shoot would be justified.
Then why are you making the argument that the circumstances led to there being a threat?
I'm not. I'm saying that a
Okay.
different set of circumstances could have led to a reasonable officer perceiving there to be a threat. But that's different set of circumstances didn't arise, and we have to deal with one we have now. And this one doesn't arise to a reasonable officer thinking there's a threat.
this one coming in from Big Leafy Tree says we need more highly trained civilians to survive ICE encounters. And then Type 35 says Alex Pretti had his phone in the hand that moved towards the waist. How could he reach for his gun when he was holding his phone?
Again, these split-second decisions, you can't say that someone can't drop a phone and pick up a gun. But I do think it is weird. He has something in his left hand too. Maybe he grabbed something off of the lady by accident when he grabbed onto her, which was also weird. Why do you think he grabbed onto that lady?
Well, initially, I think he was trying to help her stand. And then I think he was probably losing his senses because the retarded pig fuck cop was just spamming like crowd control pepper spray in this guy's face. So he was probably just grasping for anything at that point. I'm pretty sure what he has in his other hands at the point when he's on the ground are his glasses.
Okay. That makes sense.
This one from Where's Worm says Alex, for fun, assume destiny is right. You're at a Nazi rally and a lefty cop pepper sprays you and they dogpile you on all fours. What do you do?
Well, the cops aren't right or left. What's this lefty cop bullshit? The cops are there doing their job. And if I now, whether or not you think he was actually impeding, he was there instigating. Now, you could say it was legal, like he was just using his First Amendment. That's fine. We actually don't know all of the entirety of what happened, and I'm sure it will come out. But if he was like on that line of impeding, and an officer made the decision that he was in fact obstructing or impeding, then you at that point, you don't fight the law in the street, you fight it in court.
Can you be instigating just by legally protesting?
Well, I would say when you use instigating, it's not in a obstruction way or
Sure. So
in
you
a
could be
legal
instigating,
way.
but still be doing a legal thing, right?
Yes.
Would you agree
Like
that
the
ICE is
whistles.
instigating by being deployed to Minnesota like this? That Trump's goal was to instigate with ICE, even if it was legal?
Yeah, I would say so.
This one from
And I think,
Laser.
like using the whistles is instigating, right? But it's legal.
Laser 0231 says, Destiny, let's say that Pretti is not disarmed. If Pretti clearly reaches for his gun and is shot by officers, would the previous circumstances be dispositive towards a self-defense justification?
I don't think you can put somebody in a position where 95% of people can be interpreted as using violence. I think that the behavior prior to this was just so out of line that it would be hard to justify them doing almost anything and having a reasonable use of force to kill the guy. It makes it very, very, very hard when the whole situation leading up to it seems to be completely unjustified.
Doom Spiral says, was the Ashley Babbitt situation a justified enforcement action?
That's for me.
Either of you.
I mean, I would say obviously yes, of course.
Yeah. I do think it could be.
This one from
What do you mean it could be?
I think it could be interpreted that way. I don't.
Which means
I'm
you're
not-
also saying it couldn't be. That's like a pointless statement. Are you waiting for more facts to come out about it?
No, I'm just saying that you very well could interpret it that way. It was interpreted that way.
Well, it wasn't, right? Because Trump paid out the family, whatever, some wrongful death lawsuit, like $10 million or something.
I
this
mean,
one
civil and
from
criminals obviously.
Would you interpret it as a good shoot or a bad shoot?
Honestly, I don't know too much about it, but from what I have seen, probably a good shoot.
Tyler S. says, Destiny, why can't he acknowledge the guy being pepper sprayed isn't able to perfectly comply? The boot-looking and ice guzzling is wild.
What was that one again? Sorry.
They said, Destiny, why can't Alex acknowledge the guy being pepper sprayed isn't able to perfectly comply? The bootlicking and ice guzzling is wild.
Because the courts don't recognize that. Just because you get pepper sprayed doesn't mean you have the right to break the law.
Chuck says, do the debaters believe you can carry at a protest?
Yeah, that's law.
I mean, I do.
Well,
I don't think under his interpretation, the cops have huge deference to assassinate you. So basically,
yeah, if you resist the detention.
Yes, they can kill you. Yes, I don't believe that. I think
Yes.
I think that effectively
Okay.
destroys the Second Amendment in the United States. I don't think that just because a cop tackles you, that he has a right to kill you immediately after.
Is that my argument?
Basically, yes. Effectively, yes.
No, you're straw manning me.
I'm not.
Yeah, you're setting up a straw man and letting it on fire for your audience. That's fine.
Okay.
Chuck says, we got the unwanted man says, Alex and Destiny, Democrats successfully started the first Civil War in a similar way. Will they succeed this time, and how bad will they lose?
I really hope we don't have a civil war because it's not going to be pretty. Nobody's going to win.
Steven, any thoughts?
Yeah, not good.
Single Shot Studio says, how is he going to grab a gun when he has a phone in the hand you're claiming he's supposed to grab the gun with?
Yeah, I don't think it's impossible to grab a gun with a phone in your hand or to drop the phone and grab a gun.
Glenn Svengsen says, can watch the stabilized video frame by frame?
It's tough with Zoom, but I don't even have a link for each angle. Somebody for the Renee Good situation put up like all the angles on one screen. That was very helpful, but I didn't see one for this yet.
Wolfgang Snipe says, Graham versus Connor, 1989. Cop had zero objective reason to contact with the first two women. That's assault. Pretti legally can intervene. Cope escalates with unjust force. Still illegal. Assault. First cop is 100% responsible for murder. I think by Cope they meant cop. Cop escalates with unjust force. Still illegal. Assault. First cop is 100% responsible for murder.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
.com dad says, Destiny, putting aside the moral issue of this tragic shooting, how would you wager any are convicted and do time?
I don't think any will be convicted or do any time. I don't even know if there'll be indictments filed. I think that this administration is very invested in communicating to loyal followers that you can commit crimes, do murders, do whatever you want, as long as you're doing it against your political enemy, in this case, any Democrat or anybody posing as a Democrat or opposing the administration, and they're going to pardon you or cover for your crimes.
Rye says, Alex, if a cop wrongly thinks you're a suspect, tackles you, then mistakes the crunchy taco in your back pocket for a gun and shoots, is that justified? Why or why not? Assume he feared for his life.
He would have to be under the objective reasonable test, objectively reasonable officer. Now, if I was mistaken, like there's obviously tons of situations of mistaken identity. When I was in high school, we were having a party. I was drunk. I went down to the store. A cop pulled me over and said, hey, somebody's been breaking into cars. I need to search you. He searched me. If in that situation I resisted arrest and made some sort of motions to think that I was pulling a weapon, he very well could be in the right for using force in that situation.
This one from Rise.
Wait, do you think the officer's use of force here was reasonable? Like at least up to the pepper spray and shoving the person to the ground?
Before the shoot, you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah, I do think it was reasonable, but I just conceded for debate's sake because I don't think it's actually...
Why do you think Stephen Miller tweeted a few
anything.
hours ago that they might not have followed their policy?
Again, not following policy isn't a Fourth Amendment violation.
Well, it goes to the reasonableness of the officer, right?
No, so even if, like in this Renee Good situation, the officer was not following policy by standing in front of the vehicle, that doesn't mean the use of force was not justified.
Not necessarily, but not following policy is going to cut against you when people are considering a totality of the factors, no?
Not when you're considering the actual use of force in what happened with the gun. I don't think so.
You think if all cops had been trained to do a particular thing...
Mm-hmm. Policy violation that is not Fourth Amendment violation.
You keep saying Fourth Amendment. That's not...
Okay.
This... When you're talking about
what
an
is
officer
use of
committing
force? What is the standard of use of force in the Constitution? Where do we find it?
It's not just in the Constitution. It's going to be in legal statutes that are derived from the Constitution, which are going to be doled out in rules or use of force policies. Like it's very downstream from that. It's very rare. In fact, I don't know if it ever happens that when you're analyzing the facts of a case or you're applying law, people aren't citing the Constitution, right? If you read a legal case,
you're right.
Yeah, they're citing case law. I'm not saying the Fourth Amendment says this.
On the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth
Amendment, but we're abstraction, we're levels removed.
Okay.
So if there was so we can speak to...
It's all about how to interpret it.
No, it's not your job to interpret the doctrines, but that's not up for you to interpret the Constitution to see as they would apply to the doctrines. That would be for the Supreme Court to do. But I'm saying that, like, let's say that we have a police officer. Let's say that a woman is on the street. A police officer is trying to get her under control. And she's not. You ever watch WCW? Do you know what a power bomb is?
I think I know what a power is. When you
Let's say
jump
that
off
he...
the top and
you put the person on there, you bend them over, I think their head goes in between your legs, and you pick them up, and then you lift them up, you power bomb them, okay? It's a power bomb, okay? You slam them on the ground, all right? I think a lot of people would look at that and say, that officer is crazy. Let's say she dies because he power bombs her, Kevin Nash style, just complete Goldberg, destroys this lady's spine, and she's dead. I think everybody would look at that and go, okay, that's fucked up, right?
Was it a justifiable use of force? What did she do?
Well, I don't know if there's anything somebody could do for you to power bomb them, okay? I think that
Well,
to do W2 wrestling was, but let's say that you would find out, let's say you did an investigation, okay? And let's say that you found out that let's say there are two worlds, the world's divided at this point. You investigate, and in one world, the police officer department has a use of force policy. You're supposed to ask somebody for their ID 2 times. If they say no, you can attempt to detain them. If they resist at that point, you can bring out a less than lethal intermediate weapon or whatever, right? And in that world, you would look at the guy that powerbombed the lady as this first thing you say, you fucking murdered her, bro. You're fucked. Let's say that in the second world, let's say that the use of force policy was all WWF moves. And I could just say, okay, well, the policy needs to change, but the mens rea, the state of mind of the officer was not that he was necessarily committing a crime, like he was following the force policy, right? Which, let's say he did go to court, that would cut heavily in his favor. The officer could literally use as a defense. This is Derek Chauvin tried to do this. This is what we're trained to do. We were trained to do this thing. It was a big part of the Chauvin case. We received this training. This is what we're supposed to do, and I did it. How can you say I committed a crime? I'm a police officer. I'm doing what I think I have to do. I'm not committing a crime here. Whereas in the other world, where none of that is listed, and he just starts using wrestling, it's like, bro, you're murdering this woman. This is manslaughter at least. Like, this is way outside of your training.
Right, so you're just proving that following policy doesn't mean you're justified, and not following policy doesn't mean you're unjustified.
Correct. These are tests. They cut in favor or against. It's not dispositive. It would just help or it would hurt.
This one.
No, I don't. Okay.
Go ahead. If you want to continue.
It's all right.
Ash says, if it is Alexander saying an American citizen exercising their constitutional right puts them in more danger than if they exercise that right.
Yeah. Just like I think if you go down to, there's a hood down from me called South Providence, and you scream the N-word, you are exercising your First Amendment right, but you're putting yourself in grave danger.
Velvet Base says, Alexander, should Stephen
Hold
Miller...
on. There's a huge... If you say the N-word in front of cops, should you be putting yourself in danger to the cops?
No.
Okay, talking about another citizen attacking you here, we're talking about police officers killing you. Right, it's a different thing.
No. You're right. That was a good catch. I don't think that just exercising your Second Amendment should put you in danger at all. You're right, not at all. But the fact that it can add to a situation that you put yourself in, it can increase the danger of you putting yourself in a dangerous position. Yes, it could.
This one from Velvet Base says, Alexander, should Stephen Miller step down for calling Pretti an assassin? This was said around the same time Noam called him a terrorist before any investigation.
Yeah, I'm not sure if these taken in just by themselves would be valid for them to step down. I do think that calling him an assassin, especially if you don't have all the information, and with what we know now, that he was most likely just a protester who most likely stepped over the line and then was an unfortunate circumstance. But no, I don't think he should have called him an assassin. I think that's really stupid and it doesn't hurt. And I think it definitely hurts my position when you have these people saying this stuff.
Upsetty Spaghetti says, Trump is your daddy, except that, okay. Ash says, is Alexander saying, did I read this one? Is Alexander saying an American citizen exercising their constitutional rights puts them in more danger if they exercise that right?
We did read that one, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Sean O says, is it possible that the officer had his right arm moved? Is it possible that the officer that had his right arm moved his arm behind his back, either to handcuff or gain control?
I guess it's possible. It's not what we see in the video that we have. Sure, it's possible. I don't think that's what happened.
Supreme Skeptic says, if Alexander farted in a public room, I'd call it domestic terrorism. He'd also want me to get shot for violently resisting my way out of the room. True? Okay, just kidding.
I froze.
Let's see. Callaway Death Chain. What are you doing? Why'd you turn your camera off? Are you doing something you don't want us to see?
No, my OBS crashed or something.
Oh, right. This is one from Callaway. Death Chain says, Destiny, how are the court cases coming? Okay. David Lerner says, dude, she is the director of Homeland Security. She has to move to have accountability for her words.
Yeah, I don't know what proper procedure is in that aspect, so I'd have to look into it.
This one from...
I'm sure you could make the argument for it.
Tanner says, I shouldn't have been so surprised to see Alex eating all those bullets. Bless My Vibe Code says, a lot of these agents you're covering for aren't seasoned career LEOs. They're rookie entry-level thugs. That's why they're sloppy. They tarnish the badge. Alex, is this true? Or are some of these guys undertrained? Or, I mean, is it like a kind of a trend?
No, I think some are. That exists in all police departments and law enforcement officers. But there's like hundreds of thousands of applications for these positions. So they kind of have the pick of the litter. They usually try to pick people with at least some form of either law enforcement or military experience. I'm sure
Hundreds
they
of
have
thousands?
to.
There's no shot. There are hundreds of thousands of applicants for these positions.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. The last number I saw was 200,000.
If it came from the administration, it's a lie. So I mean, that's an insane amount of applications.
So how do you deal with that, though, honestly, Destiny? When the administration says something, do you just assume it's a lie?
When they've lied about these exact things, unfortunately, yeah, we can't really trust anything this administration puts out.
Is that true then with any administration?
No, most of them don't blatantly lie to the public. Can you think of a single example where the Biden administration blatantly lied to the public in the same way that Kristi Noem did in the statement I read earlier?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
This one from Max Campbell says, Alex, if officers had done the same during insurrection, it would be justified, right? All armed protesters unalived?
Yeah.
Mir Banana says, there's video of CK reaching for his waist.
Let me, just being armed doesn't mean that you get shot. It's being armed in other factors such as resisting arrest and making furtive movements. Sorry.
You got it. Also, Mir Banana says, there's video of CK reaching for his waist. Rest in peace. Let's see. Alexander, thoughts?
Sorry, I was looking up these stats. It does come from the DHS. But what was the question again?
It said there's video of CK reaching for his waist.
Oh, yeah, that's retarded.
Enemy says, Alex, do you think there are any paid actors in the ICE protest?
I think in any protest, any big, large-scale protest, and could they be for the left? Yeah, maybe even some right in there as well. There's some people who are pretty provocative who have been. Some people think they're feds, right? I'm sure you can put two and two together. I think on both sides, there's always going to be people with lots of money and influence and want to sway the opinion or add to the fire. But I do think that there are a large amount of people in these protests who do actually believe everything and are not being paid to be there. And I just think they're wrong.
This one from TD2 says, Bellingcat already debunked reaching for his gun. His hands are in front before the first shot.
I didn't. Bellingcat, is there a video? I'll look it up after this.
Dave Lerner says his last words were, quote, "Are you okay?" to the pepper-sprayed woman as he was assaulted, knocked to the ground, and beaten. Alexander is vile or in denial.
Now, again, I think that even if all of leading up to it was an abuse and not justified use of force, even afterwards, he has the duty to surrender to officers, and not surrendering to them put him in a precarious position.
You got it. SGM says, Alexander, so he has all his limbs being pulled all over and still be autonomous enough to reasonably pose a threat? Or did they let go to let him pose a threat after disarming him?
It's unclear in the video if they let go. I don't think they let go before the shots. They could have, but no, I think that it's actually, like even Destiny said, this guy's not a wimp, and it's actually hard to detain somebody who's actively resisting arrest. If you have kids and you've ever changed a diaper of a 2 or 3 year old, you could understand that too. So I think both could be true. If he stopped resisting arrest, they would have arrested him. And I also think that he could still pose a threat even though 4 people were on him, yes.
You got it. And Just Deej says Trump's coom must have hella calories. Okay, this is weird. Destiny, quit debating these clowns. Sorry, guys. Let's see. David Amick says, what if the officer assumed Alex Pretti was a vampire? They're saying, like, the hypotheticals. Greek archaeology says, James, could you please email Pearl Davis for talking? Okay, let's stay on. Travaka says, question to Alexander. Why is Pam Bondi asking for voter rolls to Tim Walz as request if he wants ICE out of Minneapolis?
Why is Pam Bondi asking Waltz for voter rolls? I'm not sure I understand.
And then Dave Lerner says, anyone who saw the public videos clearly sees this guy.
So Bondi said that she would remove ICE from Minnesota. She gave 3 conditions. The third one was they hand over their voter rolls to the Department of Justice.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why she would do that.
Well, that's whatever the reason. That seems pretty horrible, right?
And what do you mean?
Well, that has nothing to do with immigration. It has nothing to do with illegal immigration. Why would that be conditioned on? Kind of seems like you're sending feds to a state to murder their citizens until you hand them over something that they want that they wouldn't get otherwise.
Yeah, negotiation is difficult. I don't think the way you framed it, that they're just sending agents to murder people and terrorize them in order to get voter rolls. But they're at a position where I think it probably is hurting the right politically having ICE in Minneapolis, whether that's just because of the response of the left or maybe what the left believe is true. It could be either or.
Do you know the name for? We have a special name for when you negotiate with somebody, and part of that negotiation is threatening to do something bad to them if they don't comply. It's called blackmail or extortion.
What are they doing bad?
Having ICE agents that clearly don't need to be there if one of the conditions for them leaving is them handing over their voter rolls.
Well, that condition isn't the only condition.
No, but why would it even be on there? Why? That's it kind of taints the whole thing, no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This one from David Amick says, got that one. David Lerner says, anyone who saw the public videos clearly sees this guy, this innocent man was assaulted, then murdered. Stop gaslighting us. This one from Lord Law says, Destiny made a decent argument for an unjustified killing at best, but murder has very specific qualifiers. Destiny failed to make an argument for any of them outside of a death.
Murder 1 would be hard. Murder 2 would probably be pretty hard as well. I think manslaughter might be easier, but I don't know.
T-Maz says, quote, please tread on me, daddy. Tread harder. Oh, yes. Keep walking all over me and taking my rights. Oh, yeah. Keep treading. Alex, is that what you say?
My official position.
Dave Lerner. I didn't hear you. It cut out.
So I changed my X bio to that exact one.
Your audio is different. Did you change the setting? Because it's like actually really hard to hear you. Is it just me?
No, some auto adjustment on volume or something's happening. I don't know what.
We'll give you a chance to figure it out. Thomas Evans says, Alex holds civilians to higher standards than cops. Alex, is this true?
No.
It's so quiet. It's like you're in the other room. What's
quiet
happening?
now?
Oh, now it's fixed. Now it's fixed.
All right, it's good now. Cool.
Perfect. Okay.
I've had this same mic and interface for like 4 years. I should probably get a new one.
Dave Lerner says, play the effing video and see if you can still lie. Bless My Vibe Code says, I support LEOs, but Alex is wrong. I worry Alex is the type who'd support a corrupt cop because a, quote, badge and gun. There's lots of good cops who call out bad ones. Alex blanket excuses sloppy policing. Alex, was this done like sloppy? Were there any elements where you're like, yeah, that part very sloppy or medium sloppy?
No, I think considering the situation that they're dealing with in Minneapolis, that these guys deal with every single day, I think it was handled appropriately.
You got it. Free Brain says he was impersonating a police.
Just to be clear, you think that in contrast to Bovino being forced to step down, Kristi Noem now negotiating to get ICE removed from this state, and Stephen Miller even tweeting out that they might not have followed their use of force policy.
Was the Stephen Miller thing in directly in regard to the Alex Pretti situation?
Probably. It was like 4 hours ago, so yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I just seemed like you made it like an overall statement there. No, I think that even if it's the right thing to do with what's going on in Minneapolis, I think that optically it can still look bad based on the response from the left.
This from Tyler S. says, Destiny, is it valid to have a fear that there will be more tragedies to occur because of the government overreach going on in Minnesota?
Say that again, what?
Said, is it valid to have a fear that there will be more tragedies to occur because of the government overreach going on in Minnesota?
It could be, I guess.
You got it. Windmill 2000 says, Alex and Destiny sitting in a tree. Okay, let me focus. Hey, Alex.
How many more are these up there? I'm tired, James.
Okay, this is, I think we're actually
Sleepy.
at the end here.
Okay.
Bo Sun says, the BS provocation doctrine argument. Folks, no more questions. The BS provocation doctrine argument verbatim suggests that the officer lost self-control in the heat of the moment. Where has this defense been used in police homicide historically?
Lost what?
Self-control. They said, the BS provocation doctrine argument verbatim suggests that the officer lost self-control in the heat of the moment. Where has this defense been used in police homicide historically?
Yeah, it's not at all the argument. It's simply the provocation doctrine was used to imply that later use of force was unreasonable based on prior Fourth Amendment violations in the situation. And it was struck down. Basically, the reasoning behind it is that officers can't give up their right to defend themselves just because they violate the law.
Okay. Can we let Steven go? I want to give you a chance to rest, Steven, because actually all of these questions are for Alex. There's like maybe 10 more that have come in. So, Steven,
Yeah, it was nice to meet you, man. Thank you for doing the debate.
Yeah. Hold on, I'll chill for a few more minutes. 1 second.
Okay. Bosun says, we got that. Richie Torres says, hold up, didn't Biden lie at the CNN town hall? Oh, actually, this one apparently seems to be for you. Hold up, didn't Biden lie at the CNN town hall about the COVID jab? Shut your ass up. I'll give you a chance to respond whether or not Biden lied at the CNN town hall about the jab. Did you fall asleep, Stephen?
What? I'm sorry, was that a question? Wait, what was the question? Sorry.
They said, hold up, didn't Biden lie at the CNN town hall about the COVID jab?
No.
Bless My Vibe Code says, I don't see this as a pro-cop, anti-cop thing. You can respect the badge without defending insane, sloppy actions. These are feds, not your local good old boy police. Have a sense of justice, not just force.
Sorry, say that again.
We got to wrap up. You
We're
guys,
both
I know you
getting
guys are
tired.
tired. This is so many questions. Bear with. Name is the game says, that's not. Bless My Vibe Code says, I don't see this as a pro-cop or anti-cop thing. You can respect the badge without defending insane, sloppy actions. These are feds, not your local good old boy police. Have a sense
agree.
of justice, not just force.
True. Okay, now I'm going to go to sleep. I was writing something. I love you. Be careful, guys. Stay safe.
Take care. Have a good night.
Have a good one, man.
I'm going to switch over to full screen, and then the rule is I don't want to, when Steven's not here to defend himself, we can't
Of course.
talk smack.
Now I bring out all the personal attacks.
Yes, this is your chance. It's your chance to really jump on Steven. So let's see. I'm going to just move this over. And the last several questions, Kirby says, Alex is like, okay, geez. Some of these.
Give them to me, James.
All right. I mean, you like it. You're a real sadist. Is it? No, you're a masochist. That's right. Okay.
Mascus, yeah.
Kirby says, Alex is like a more disgusting, diseased, and corrosive. What is Nurgle? Like if Nurgle was
I
a
don't know what a
crunchy
Nurgle
taco
is.
enthusiast that hasn't seen below his waist in years. Okay.
Hey, I
Xavier-
just got back in the gym. Off the couch, 265, 3 sets for 5. So,
Good for you. Don't worry. This next one is about your personality. They say, Alexander, you are a disgusting, vile person and a traitor for your opinion. This one.
nice. Lots of strong opinions on this topic, obviously.
Xavier Hall says, Destiny. Let's see. This is still kind of insulting you. So we'll read it. They say, Destiny, this was the most bad faith debate in a minute. I feel bad for the torture you endured to your mental fortitude. Alex just lied about everything. I'm guessing you disagree that you would say you didn't lie.
It is. I mean, it's such a polarizing topic. I have literally the same comments in my live chat about Destiny.
This is
it's a
from
polarizing topic, man.
Mode says, "This is America. Shouldn't you presume everyone has a gun? Why is Alexander giving so much charity to his side? We suffer for scared PTSD, TRT, crazy cops."
There is a level to which cops do assume everybody is armed, because, like I said earlier, if you're wrong, it's life or death. That's why there have been cases where people have been unarmed and have had furtive movements to the waist and have been shot and killed, and the cop was justified.
Free Brain says he was impersonating police by directing traffic, and the guilty is Waltz and his cronies for using all this to cover their corruptions. Did I read that already?
I'm not sure if you read that one. You read one like it, but I do think that that's a good point. He definitely was doing more than just filming. I have a video I should have played, but he was directing traffic at one point.
This one from the Bearded Doctors. Please steel man each other's positions. Can you steel man Steven's position, even though he's not here to? I think Steven might be in Eastern time, so he's probably tired.
Gotcha. I think he's been streaming all day. I saw him really early streaming. For Steven, I do think that it's tough for me to steelman his position because, in my opinion, his whole position was that the events leading up, so the unjustified use of force leading up to the situation, made it so the cop could unreasonably use force. That's the best I got, because he doesn't say that the cop reasonably used force, so there's no officer created jeopardy. And then his other argument was that the use of force was just unjustified completely. So the best statement I could put is that he just thinks, even in the moment where the force was used, it wasn't justified.
This one from the Bearded Doctor. We got that. JKL says, Alex, if a cop is hitting you in the head and your natural reaction is to protect your face, is that resisting arrest?
The only reason the cop was hitting him in the head was because he was resisting arrest.
This one from Always Reason says, not surrendering, quote unquote, is doing Olympic levels of lifting for Alex here. It can be produced easily. Destiny is fair when saying that Alex's position is bring a gun and you're fair game for killing.
No, bring a gun and then resist arrest. Like, even if it was completely unjustified and in his mind he's like, there's no reason for me to be detained, you still have a duty, a lawful duty, to listen to the cop and surrender to him. That's just the law. If you don't like it, change the law.
You got it. And I think that is it. A blunder statement. Thanks for your kind words. The speakers are linked in the description. If you'd like to hear more, you certainly can. They're linked below, whether you're watching via Modern Day Debate on YouTube or the podcast. You can find us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, in which we link our guests in that description box as well. I'm going to let Alex go. I will be back in just a moment to let you guys know, as I mentioned for, let me see if this shows, is, as you can see, we have DebateCon 7 this Saturday. You can grab tickets at the link in the description. Otherwise, it's a perk for our Final Word channel members. You can watch the entire conference from home. Check out our channel memberships at the join button. And, like I said, tickets are linked in the description box. I'm going to be back in just a moment, but I'm going to let Alex go. So stick around. I'll let you know about upcoming debates, including tomorrow, classic pro-life versus pro-choice, as well as many more coming up. So stick around. My dear friends, thank you for coming by, and let me just load up that Zoom window, and then you'll be able to see me because it looks like I'm not here anymore, but I am. Want to say thank you for your support. Is hosting our official conference this coming. I'm going to actually open this up over here too, and then you can see the poster, because you might be thinking, like, James, what is it that Modern Day Debate is hosting exactly? Well, I'll tell you. So you can see at the bottom right of your screen, The DebateCon 7 is this Saturday. That's our official conference. You don't want to miss it. I've got to tell you, it's in Houston. So if you are near Houston, let me know where you are in chat. I am in Las Vegas. I am flying to Houston on Thursday to prep for this huge conference. It's going to have debaters such as you can see at the bottom right of your screen, Daniel Hakikachu. Now, if you know the first headliner debate that we ever hosted at Modern Day Debates DebateCon conference, it was DebateCon 1. It was in Dallas. Do you know who the two debaters were in the final event? I'll give you a hint. Both of them have had their faces on screen tonight. But I've got to tell you, thank you guys for your support. I'm going to put that link for DebateCon 7. And then, the chat. So we do still have the poll. I'm going to close the poll in just a minute or two. We have 3,191 votes. The plurality as of now is yes, 46%, no, 39%, and 15% say I don't know enough yet. And I will close that in a second. But yes, we are. I want to say hi to you in chat. Exotic Spida, thanks for being a channel member. And then, I forgot to mention. So, as mentioned, DebateCon 7 this Saturday in Houston, Texas. David Wood, Apostate Prophet, Daniel Hakikachu, Danny Philtalk, Jake Muslim Metaphysician, Inspiring Philosophy. It's going to be huge. So this conference is going to be huge. We're expecting it to sell out. Grab your tickets now before we do sell out. And not only that, but if you're like, James, I'm in Antarctica, I can't make it. You can watch it, as I mentioned, from the comfort of your very own home by becoming a channel member at the Final Word tier. Check out those memberships. We haven't, in the past, it's only like the last few months that we started talking about memberships. We've always had them, but we never really mentioned them. Is that if you click that join button, it's right next to the subscribe button, and that does help support the channel. In particular, when we do these events, we tend to lose money on the event itself. So in other words, even with all the ticket sales, the costs are so much that it's very common that we lose money. And so your support of this does help a ton by becoming a channel member. But not only that, I've got to tell you, we're excited about the future. We have a lot of debates coming up. But first, let me just I'm going to show a couple of things, actually. So we have a lot to plug right now. So at the bottom right of your screen, I had mentioned the tickets are linked, and then I'm also going to show you, we do have a members-only playlist. So I'm going to put that members-only playlist in the old live chat right now. This has got some of our most controversial debates. There's a panel with Destiny and Nick Fuentes. There is a panel with Hunter Avalone and... I think another one with Nick Fuentes, as well as you can see at the bottom right of your screen, Milo Yiannopoulos versus Jangles. If you remember Jangles, left-leaning debater, pleasant chap. There are a lot of controversial debates that we don't leave up on YouTube because they're kind of so controversial that we're like, maybe we should just have that for our members, because I don't know if non-members would report those. But I'm going to put that chat, members only playlist, debaters level member. These are our wildest debates, and this has got over 350 debates in that list. So do check out those channel memberships. But not only that, we also have we haven't talked about this enough, is that we do have, and so that member, I just put that playlist in the old live chat, and now I'm putting in the perks. So if you want to click that join button, or you can click that link I just put in the chat. And not only that, if you want to support Modern Day Debate and you have Amazon Prime and Twitch, you can support Modern Day Debate by using your free Twitch subscription, where you can choose whatever channel you want to use that on Twitch. You can use that for Modern Day Debate, and that does help support us. We do appreciate that. And Shemzu Anu, good to see you there. Thanks for being a channel member. The Bearded Doctor, thank you for being a channel member as well. Thank you for your support, Bearded Doctor. Plug in the memberships. And Norex says, we got new lines from Scott Poppers in there. Sick. You're one sick puppy. You're going to jail. And also, though, other stuff. So I'm going to put other stuff here. We've got a lot. And I'm going to close that poll and ending with 3,200 votes. let's see. Let me just get over here to our channel membership perks. Then we have the social. So 15. Okay. If you did not know it, Modern Day Debate has a Discord. So I do want you to consider joining our Discord. This is a great way to get debate experience. Philip8991 says, I guess I was shadow banned. You were not shadow banned, Philip. Unless YouTube banned you or something, but I didn't ban you. We let people say almost anything here. As long as it's within YouTube terms of service, like we pretty much let people say whatever they want. And let me put this. Okay, socials. As you can see at the bottom right of your screen, Modern Day Debate does have a Discord, which is pinned at the top of the chat. It's also in the description box. Not only that, but we have an Instagram and an X and a Facebook and a Discord. Daniel J8876, welcome to the Final Word channel membership. Thank you so much for becoming a Final Word channel member. Enjoy watching DebateCon 7 from home this Saturday. It's going to be amazing. We're excited about this. Now, a lot of folks recently have been asking about security. We take this as serious as we possibly can. Is that there was a report of basically, I mean, like I've seen the footage myself. Muslim extremists making a threat toward David Wood at this conference, naming Houston in particular and saying pow pow, basically is pretty obvious that he was making a threat. So basically, we have hired top-notch security. We have metal detectors for anybody who wants to enter the venue space. And this is something that we, like I said, we take very seriously. Fortunately, we have Bob, who is my right-hand man. He's got 20 years of military experience. And Bob is actually kind of the person that I defer to on all the security stuff. He has so much experience that he's like my advisor. I'm just grateful for him. And so basically he says, hey, James, this is what I think we should do. And we have it handled. So there is absolutely going to be security and everybody is going to be safe. I have no doubt about it. It's going to be a great event. And a lot of people, in particular, this person who was trying to stifle or, stop this debate from happening, who's made this threat on the event, we are not going to back down. We are going to have this event. We're determined. We're excited for it. And that's right. The Beard Doctor says, don't mess with Bob. And Shamsu Anu says, go Bob. 100% is that I can assure everybody we are going to have the utmost safety. Is that something that we care about at the highest level we can, is that it's going to be a great event. And we're not going to let anybody intimidate us into not having this event. Even though I will tell you this. Yeah, there's and this isn't even our first threat. We've had I would say this is the most direct threat we've ever had. But we have had concerns like this in the past. And so we do have experience with kind of security and taking care of that. So I'm grateful for Bob. So if you ever see Bob, say go Bob, or, thank you for that support for Bob because he is awesome. So now the Discord is pinned at the top of the chat. Check that out. As we grow, it's just a necessity that we do have security. And so now, we just have it at every debate, every conference. We used to not have security, to be honest. Like our first one, I think it wasn't until our third or fourth. And that's when it became a regular thing. And now, like I said, it's just as big as we've grown, it's a necessity. But want to say thank you for your support. If you want to know about when we are going to have these events in your city, because DebateCon does travel, so we do have these all over, do follow us on Facebook or X or Instagram or in the Discord. I'm sure Shane shares it. Can anybody let me know? Do we have in the Discord, you guys have heard about it in the Discord about DebateCon 7, right? My guess is people are sharing it. I hope. I'm such a boomer, I don't know how to use Discord. Crusader Jason says, James, remember when they tried to do to Robert Spencer, they are much more bold now. I promise we are taking this as serious as possible. And we will not underestimate, sorry. It's been a long day. We will not underestimate these people, as that's crucial for us to make sure that we do over prepare rather than under prepare. And Dark Metal Official is Modern Day Debate. Too Big Durig, thanks for your kind words. And let's see here. Oh, yeah. So anyway, if you want to know about upcoming events in your city, check out these Modern Day Debate socials. Instagram, X, Facebook, etc. Those are linked in the description. Check them out right now. And then let me see about anything else. Housekeeping. So we do have a podcast. If you didn't know, if you like listening to podcasts, we do still have that. And then let me go to this last one. Is if you want to participate, we're planning on doing some in-person debates. You can sign up below in the description box for those. Deandra J8876 says, DebateCon 7 is going to be amazing. Thank you for your support, brother. And the Bearded Doctor says, come to Dallas. We are actually planning on coming to Dallas this year. So I appreciate you saying that, brother. We are excited about that. And Bass Guitar says, are you coming back to Chicago? We are coming to Chicago. No joke. Bass Guitar, good to see you, brother. And you always, you have a tremendous beard. Whenever I watch those videos and I see you in those videos debating Andrew, I say, he's got a tremendous beard. You have to hand it to him. What's up, Chuck M says, thanks for the debates over the years, James. Eat fresh. Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Nobody likes Subway more than me, and I can prove it. But yeah, I do appreciate your support, brother. That means a lot. Eat fresh. And let me look this up. NetTube user, good to see you there in the old live chat. Taylor D13, good to see you. And Random American 1, happy to have you here. One Shot, happy to have you with us. Live is asymmetrical, glad you're here. Norak, you sick son of a gun, glad you're here. Life, Lurley, good to have you. Philip 89991, happy to have you here. But yeah, I'm happy to help you in Dallas however I can. Thank you so much. That means more than you know. Is that, yeah, we really do. And yeah, that's right. Mark Thompson, good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. I see you there in the live chat. Is that we do plan on coming back to Dallas. So that's probably going to be, I think it's probably going to be September. And I will let you know about that. As we're going to plan like a massive debate con there. So it's going to be a 2-day conference, both religion and political debate days, because this one that we're having this Saturday is pure religion debates. Shamsu Anu says, hit the like button. Yeah, do hit that like button. We appreciate that support, folks. And I'm going to let you guys go because I actually have just so much for this conference that I have to keep on chugging and making sure that everything is good in terms of that preparation. But want to say hello in the old live chat. Let me know where you're saying hello from. Like I said, I'm in Las Vegas. And Agent Smith, good to see you there. And Rusty Raisin, happy to have you here. And yeah, I'm excited about that. If you haven't yet, hit that like button. Thank you guys for your support, and we will see you at the next debate. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. Take care, everybody. DebateCon 7 will be in Houston, Texas on Saturday, January 31st, 2026, and featuring some of your favorite debaters that you can come out and meet and see debating live, including David Wood, Daniel Hakikachu, Inspiring Philosophy, Mike Jones, and more. Check out the tickets right now in the description box. You don't want to miss it. We're expecting it to sell out. Grab your tickets now.